All right. So welcome to Managerial Economic Analysis, the last class before the final. Today, very exciting. Today, we're going to do a couple. I have good news. We're going to do a couple of homeworks, maybe just one, but we're going to do them together in class, and everybody's getting full credit. So woohoo! That's 70 points out of homework that I throw your way. Then we're going to cover 24 or 25, I don't remember, different pricing strategies. So we've been talking about pricing constantly. You raise prices or you lower prices, but now we're going to see that there's a lot more to pricing than that. And then we are going to do, if we have time, some game theory, or if we have time, I'll show you a real life example. That's probably more important than game theory. Real life example about all of this, how I used it in a previous company, okay? And then we'll dedicate some time to talk about the final example. All righty, that's the menu. How was Rosa's class? Annalise, was it good? As good as ever?
Yes, it was very, very much a Rosa class. Did queuing theory and talked about Poisson, and I didn't realize she was on when I started to say, and I didn't remember how to do Poisson distribution, so I was very embarrassed.
Okay, it happens. It happens. So you guys remember, you guys have done multiple regression analysis, right? With her? No, you don't know if you've done multiple regression analysis. Sandy, thumbs up if you've seen it with class. With Rosa, yes. Okay, because today we may talk a little bit about that when I show you the real life example. Okay, so I think we're ready to go, aren't we? Should we? Okay. Well, last class, let's take 2 or 3 minutes to talk about what we did last summer. What we did last class. Last class, as you remember, we saw with the firm level diagram, we started seeing things like the profitability and profit and production conditions, right? And we saw things about how do we know if we should be shutting down the business in the short run? That was one of the main learnings from last time. We also completed the talk about market structures, okay? And that's what we're going to do now. A bit as a reminder, let's do a homework together, okay? If you go to Canvas, there's a homework number 8. I'm going to open it here so we can see the questions together. But I want to get that done first because we didn't cover it last time. And so let me come here and we're looking at files. You can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Homework, and here, homework 8, 7 multiple choice questions. I just want us to do them together. This is the best way I have to just give you some points for free now that nobody's looking. Okay. Remember, to answer these questions, we're going back to our chart for market structures. So if you want to find that is going to help us. In the meantime, I'll just tell you, remember we had monopoly on the left-hand side, and then moving towards the right, it was oligopoly. That could be cooperative or competitive. Then we had monopolistic competition, and then we had perfect competition, okay? So we're starting, and we had several criteria. We had the elasticity, barriers to entry, product differentiation, number of suppliers, etc. Right? So question number 1 is, one of the most effective tools in monopolistic competition is, and as you remember, in monopolistic competition, a ton of different suppliers, low barriers to entry, low product differentiation, and fairly elastic demand. And one of the things that we said that companies try to look for in order to achieve more differentiation was marketing and advertising, right? So number 1 would be 1A. I'm going to be explaining this rather than asking what you guys think. I'm going to be explaining them. It's a good way to kind of do a recap. So 1A, marketing and advertising to achieve more product differentiation. So you remember, we read the article about the water bottles everywhere, how a ton of different brands through advertising, packaging, and whatnot are trying to achieve product differentiation. So 1A. And if you have questions, just let me know. Question number 2, if a company cannot be profitable, so profit is less than 0 for all quantities, this happened, remember, when we're looking at the firm level diagram, this happened when we were looking at the firm level diagram. If we couldn't be profitable for any quantity, we had our demand here, and we had our marginal revenue, and then our marginal cost, and we had a unit cost. We had our unit cost that was above our demand function, right? So at any point that we may pick up here, whatever that may be, let's pick up whatever, let's pick up this quantity, price, we find it the demand, right? And then unit cost, we found it at the unit cost function. So our unit cost is above the demand for all quantities, right? So if a company cannot be profitable, as we see here, we have its total cost is below the total revenue for certain quantities. Its average total cost, so its total cost is below the total revenue for certain quantities. That's not true. The total cost will be above the total revenue for all quantities, right? Its average total cost is above the demand function for all quantities. That's the one. 2B, as in Bravo. And it doesn't matter if they raise prices or lower prices, because what they need to do is they need to push this demand out, right? This one right here, they need to push the demand out so it's above the unit cost. Right now here, it doesn't matter if you move prices up or down, you're never going to make money, because this demand function and this cost function, it's not going to be possible. You need to push the demand out, right? Everybody good? Give me a yes, someone.
Yes.
Perfect. So number 3, in a monopoly, oligopoly, or monopolistic competition. So why is it phrased like that? So we know that we're looking at a firm level diagram that looks like this, right? With the demand that is downward sloping, because we also saw that in perfect competition, remember, in perfect competition, the demand was a straight line. You still had your marginal cost, and you still had your unit cost and whatnot, but your demand, which was equal to your price, and your marginal revenue looked like this. So this question refers to a firm level diagram that looks like that. So monopoly, oligopoly, or monopolistic competition, profit is maximized when marginal revenue equals marginal cost. We know that's true. That's the case always. Profit is maximized when marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Let's see, revenue is maximized when marginal revenue equals 0. We also know that that's true. So a little trick for multiple choice questions: if A and B are correct, and there's all of the above, chances are that's the one. So let's see. Average total cost is minimized at the point that it equals marginal cost. We know that that's the case, right? Average total cost is always minimized whatever it meets the marginal cost. So number 3 will be all of the above. Number 4, a pure monopoly market structure. So here we're talking about, in our chart, all the way to the left. All the way to the left is our pure monopoly market structure. Has one producer, we know that, but no barriers to entry. We know that in pure monopoly are very, very high barriers to entry, right? Modest cost of entry, no prohibitive barriers to entry. Okay, that one sounds good. Let's look at D. One producer that accounts for more than 60% of industry sales. If that's the case, it wouldn't be a pure monopoly, right? Pure monopoly is 100% of the sales. So 4C, as in Charlie. Pure monopoly market structure has one producer protected by prohibitive barriers to entry. Number 5, the perfectly competitive producers demand curve is, and I just show you here, look like this, right? That's perfect competition, and this is perfectly elastic. So perfectly competitive producers demand curve is perfectly elastic. A, I don't see all of the above, so therefore it's just going to be A, 5A, because it's not the market demand curve, it's not downward sloping, it's not perfectly inelastic, and it's not vertical. So 5A. Number
Wait, now I have a
6.
question for you on that one, because for that particular question, because it's asking for market structure and not monopoly is why we choose A, right? Because monopolistic was the one that had low product differentiation, low barriers to entry, but the monopoly, I had written down, it was a high product differentiation, high barriers to entry.
Absolutely.
For monopoly.
We're talking about number 4.
Yes, I guess my question for you is, yeah, is the key word there you're asking for the market structure? And that's why we chose A?
Well, pure monopoly. So I think you are mistaking the monopoly with monopolistic competition. Those are two different things.
Oh,
Remembering that.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that answer your question?
It does. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So now we're moving to number 6. Now we're talking about monopolistic competition. The monopolistically competitive firm has a more elastic demand curve than the monopolist. True. Why? Is it because of competition from other firms? Yes. Is it because I need to change the order that I make these questions? Otherwise, if A is correct, we never get to D. So because of competition from other firms, that's exactly why. Because of more productive resources, it has nothing to do with that. The market price is arbitrary, known, and lower cost. It's nothing to do with that either. So monopolistically competitive firm, we're talking monopolistic competition. We saw that it has a fairly elastic demand because there's plenty of firms competing in that market. So 6A. And then 7, I mentioned this in passing, I think, a natural monopoly. It's a type of monopoly with very high barriers to entry, and those are due to economies of scale. 7B, economies of scale. Think utility companies, think that kind of monopolies where in an area they have such a huge scale that for anybody to try to get in, that constitutes a huge barrier to entry. So 7B, as in Bravo. And you just got, all of you, 70 out of 70. You were en fuego for that homework. There's another homework that is 3 questions. What the hell? You guys want 30 more points? Okay, be that way. I'm gonna give them to you right now. Let's see. You're coming from Rosa's class. I need to be gentle. My teacher has to say gentle somewhere. Let's see. Let me share and open homework number 9, please. I'm gonna open it here. Okay, I need to go back here. Homework number 9. Here it is. These are 3 questions. And this is about the profitability and production conditions, okay? As you remember, what we said is that what we're looking at is the comparison between the price and the average variable cost. That's the one that is going to tell us, excuse me, if we should shut down in the short run or not. So number 1, if you're selling your product for $10 and your unit cost is 13, unit cost is the average total cost. So you're selling for $10, but on average it's costing you to produce and sell each unit $13. Are we breaking even? No. Are we profitable? No, we're unprofitable in the short run, right? We're losing money. We're losing $3 with each unit that we produce and sell. So 1B is in Bravo. And now we get to number 2. Price still $10 and your unit cost is still $13. Should we shut down in the short run? Truth is, we don't know because we compare the price with the average variable cost, right? You're indifferent between shutting down or not in short run. We don't know. Should continue operating. We don't know. So 2D as in delta, I'm pretty sure you do not have enough information to know if you should or should not shut down in the short run, because we want to get to price compared to average variable cost, which is exactly what I cleverly did here on question number 3. If you're selling your product for $10, your unit cost is $13, and your average variable cost is $9. And we saw that if the price is greater than the average variable cost, we do not shut down. Because right now, we are losing $3 per unit, right? But we're covering all of the variable cost, which is $9, and we have $1 left to cover some of the fixed costs. So we continue operating in the short run, because if we shut down, we'll have to pay for all of the fixed costs. So question 3 is 3C as in Charlie. You should continue operating the business in the short run. Any questions? No questions? Okay. What's the energy level today, people? I see you're tired. I can tell. I see a lot of this. I see a lot of this. I see a lot of that. Talk to me. Was it brutal, the class before?
It's a weekend. It's a back-to-back that weekend.
Oh, I'm at the tail end of a back-to-back.
No. This morning's lecture allowed you to sleep in a little bit later. It's nothing more than a snooze fest. You could have had your feet up and passed out and you wouldn't have missed anything.
Wow. Just tell us how you feel, Neil. Just don't hold back. Just tell it like it is. So you had class yesterday too. Whole day. What class did you have yesterday?
Supply chain final.
Supply chain and
Finals.
finance.
And financial management.
With
With
Castellino.
Castellino.
Okay, Maria, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. You're going to do fine in financial management. Don't sweat it. I see your face. Going to be fine. That's tough. Back to back is tough. And I recognize that. So we're going to try to make this as easygoing as possible. Okay. I'm trying to think what stories I have not shared with you yet. I told you when my wife was struck by lightning, didn't I?
Yes.
Yeah, you were saving
You
it
haven't
for a
told us the
low
story
energy
yet.
day. I think today's the day.
Today's the
You
day.
never told us the story.
Today's
The
the day.
moment is running out, people. So grab a glass of something. So here goes. My wife, 17, French, in the French countryside, they have a concert, like 30,000 people, festival outdoors, massive screens, all that good stuff. And there's a storm brewing. My wife, 17, goes to the concert with an umbrella. Not only an umbrella with a metal tip on top, okay? And the storm is brewing and the concert starts raining. She goes like this with the umbrella, lightning strikes and hits her. And hits her to the point like 3 yards backwards, the hair like this. So she has, okay, she cannot hear me. So she has straight hair, but the beginning is kind of curly. And I always blame that on the lightning strike. But anyway, so the screens explode. So this is big. This is a big thing. And then obviously, so she's okay. Why? She was wearing some Doc Martens shoes. You know, those that have like that, the rubber sole,
Yeah.
those save her life. So we have those in an altar somewhere in the basement. And so concert is canceled. So she goes back home. And she gets home and opens the door, and there are my in-laws. My father-in-law was a doctor, and my mother-in-law was a nurse. She sits down for dinner, and they go like, "What happened to the concert?" "Oh, it was canceled." "Why?" "Because of the weather." And she doesn't say a word, and she starts having dinner. And then my father-in-law looks at her arm. My wife is pasty white, so she's like this wall. She goes in the summer through different shades of pale. She doesn't tan, and he could see all of the veins in her arm, like they were pumping. And she's like, "What happened?" And she goes, "Oh, I got struck by lightning. Can I have some more soup?" Like nothing had happened. So that's one. But then we're pregnant with our first kid, and we were 5 months pregnant at my mom's house. And we go out with my dad and my sister, and we're shopping and whatnot, and she's awfully quiet. And my sister's like, "Are you okay?" And Cecilia, "Yeah, no, I have just a mild," remember these words at the end of the story, "a mild discomfort back here." Okay, we continue the day, all is fine, and then get into the night, and she's like, at midnight, and I've never heard these words before, it's like, "No, I'm in pain." And I'm like, fuck. If she says that she's in pain, she's probably dying now. So what's going on? She's, "I have a pain back here." And then my mom said the only word she should have not said, maybe these are contractions with 5 months pregnant. So then I grabbed my wife. I said, "We're going to the hospital." We go to the hospital, and I always remember in the waiting room, she's sitting there, and my mom is sitting there. So I was walking towards my wife. "It's going to be fine. It's probably nothing." I was turning around, crying to my mom. "Oh my God, my first child, whatever." So then they see us, and I'll never forget the face of the doctor. So they go, "So describe to me," okay, they do some tests, and they go, "The baby's fine." And the doctor is looking at her all the time without saying a word. And then he goes, "I need to get this straight." So on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is very, very, light pain, and 10 is excruciating, how much pain are you in? She's like, "A 4. And the doctor goes, "Mom, you're passing a kidney stone, which is more painful than giving birth." And she's like, "Yeah, it hurts. It hurts a tiny bit." So whenever I'm at home and I go, "I have a headache," she's like, "You don't have a fucking idea what a headache is. Shut up and get on with your life." So I cannot complain on my house. That's my life, people. I'm sharing it with you. This is therapy. That's my life environment. Okay. So good. I thought I had told you that story. That's such a good story. Okay. So are we a little bit better now? Give me some thumbs up if you are. Okay. Perfect. You know what I'll do for the final exam? I'll introduce you to my wife, so you see that it's for real. Okay. I'll ask her to come here, say a few words. She'll probably say, "Just shut up," to me, not to you, and then we'll move on with life. All right. I think we're ready now. Are we ready, Nicole, Neil, Liz, and James? Yes? All right. 25 pricing strategies, people. And I'm going to go one by one, and we're going to read a ton of articles. Okay? So here we go. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to start writing on the whiteboard, number 1 to 24, and we'll go down the list. Okay? And these are gonna, what's good about this is that you are gonna recognize this, and this is gonna turn you into a pain in the ass. Okay? So next time you go to Costco and you get to the checkout and you start, "Are you trying to pull second-degree price discrimination on me, Mom?" So do not use this power at barbecues, parties with friends, because with a lot of power comes a lot of responsibility, and you may turn into me. That's not a good thing, trust me. So let's share my screen and let's go to pricing strategies. Okay, here we go. Pricing strategies. I'm glad I saved that story for today then. Today you really needed a bit of a boost. Pricing strategies. And the first 6 or so, they're fairly obvious, and I don't want to say theoretical, but they're more about in line with what we've been seeing in class in terms of maximizing profit, maximizing or breaking even or whatnot. Okay, so let's go one by one. Number 1 is markup pricing. You knew about this one. Okay. And I hope you guys saw the video that I told you about the speech that I made for Singapore students with how to devise a global pricing strategy. This is going to fit nicely into that. Markup pricing is also called full cost pricing. And why is that? Well, markup, you don't need an MBA to know that if my cost is 100 and I want to make 20%, maybe I should sell for 120, right? So this is just adding a percentage to our cost. So the price in this case will be 1 plus a certain margin, certain percentage, times your unit cost, right? So that's your markup pricing. Okay, and now we're gonna go read a bunch of articles about markup pricing. Today's class is fairly dynamic in that sense that we're gonna read a ton of articles. So let's go to the article, the list of articles, and we're gonna go to the backup stack. We're gonna go to PDF page 88. Okay, so from the backup of articles, Derek, how are you doing? Thumbs up?
Thumbs up, doing well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, now I understand. So I can see you, but that's a frozen image, right, of yourself? Because I've been staring at you for the past 3
I'm not
minutes.
sure, maybe it's my connection, but
Okay.
maybe, I don't know.
Okay. I thought that was on purpose. I thought that's brilliant. I'm going to use that in meetings. That's fantastic. But I was worried about you. You weren't blinking for like 5 minutes. Okay, page 88 of the PDF. And this is going to show us, and this is an oldie, obviously, 16 outrageously priced products. Okay, so we're going to see what the markup is in several products. So first one is movie theater snacks. And the guy that wrote this or gal that wrote this thought that is very funny. So these jokes are even worse than mine. So brace yourselves. Movie theater snacks. What's harder to digest? Movie theater popcorn has an average markup of 1,275%. I know, Sunita, I know. Or with a soda, that popcorn has a caloric equivalent of 3 McDonald's quarter pounders. Oof, that's hard to digest too. Nutrition aside, concessions like $5 tubs of popcorn and $6 boxes of gummy worms are big revenue streams for movie theaters. So 1,275. Prescription drugs. And here there's a bit of judging. Astronomical prescription drug prices. I didn't write this article, with markups ranging from 200 to 3,000%. Wait for it, are enough to give patients a headache. You see what he did there? How clever that was. In fact, price hikes caught the eye of Arizona's Attorney General, whomever, from 2012, so pharmaceutical, okay, whatever. Diamonds. Diamond is forever, they say. What's the rule still in the US? That somebody told my wife, well, we were not born and raised in the US, and somebody at work mentioned that the engagement ring had to be 3 times the salary. How does that work? You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Pretty sure you do. There's an unwritten rule, and I don't think I went by that rule. Diamonds.
The beers will do anything to get you to buy a blood diamond.
Okay, I hear you. Shoppers in the market for a diamond should be prepared to pay anywhere from 50 to 200% more than wholesale cost, which to me, it seems small. I thought it was more than that. And then information at this Google Answers page, which obviously if the internet says it, it must be true, suggests markups range from 50 to 400%. Bottled water. Remember bottled water? Some claim bottled water's markup reaches 4,000%, more expensive than gasoline. Saving is simple. Drink tap water. I think you've heard me saying this before. Salad bars. Some salad bar items are marked up more than 350%. According to Food Network magazine, items that aren't worth their weight, chickpeas, 386% markup over retail. Radishes, 302%, and baby corn, 277%. Eyeglass frames, dishing out for $150 for Armani frames, markups for eyeglass frames can reach 1,000%. Soda, order a glass of Coke when you're dining out, and you could pay 300 to 600% over cost. So now you know why free refills is a good business. If you're gonna get someone there to buy something else, just by paying that first drink, is paying for a ton of them. text messages. This shows how dated this article is. Who sends text messages anymore? Other than my mom, it drives me nuts. Outgoing text messages on a cell phone can cost the provider 0.3 cents, 0.3 cents, but users up to 20 cents. That translates to 6,000% markup. Remember when, doesn't matter. Some plans charge 10,000 times more for sending text than other types of data. Wine, champagne, my favorite subject. It's not uncommon for restaurants to charge 2 or even 3 times retail for a bottle of wine, ordered by the glass, and you're sipping on an item marked up as much as 400%. So you know that in the US, the bottle service, the fact that you can bring your own alcohol, I think that's brilliant. That's so brilliant that that's not allowed here in Spain. You cannot, if you walk into a restaurant with your own bottle, they tell you drink it outside and then you come in and then you can spend here. And you know what's worse? People will probably do that. So hotel minibars, we've all been on those trips, business trips. We got to the hotel late, we've opened a minibar because the company was paying, right? Whether you're searching for sneakers or toothpaste kit, minibar markups can hit 400%. Some of the most ludicrous minibar prices, according to oyster.com, whatever that is, $14 gummy bears at Omni Berkshire Place, which is in England, and a $10 bottle of water at the Mansfield Hotel. Coffee and tea. Lattes are one of life's little luxuries, but they can be marked up by 300%. If it's Starbucks, probably more, right? Designer jeans. I was reading this article to the last class that I taught live in New Jersey. So this must be not last year, the previous one. And I said, who here? It says a 665 price tag on Gucci jeans. I said, who here has ever paid $300 for some jeans? And one guy raised his hand. I said, $400. The hand stayed up. The hand stayed up till $600. And I said, well, there were so many things I wanted to say, but I just didn't say anything, right? $665 price tag on Gucci jeans and $225 for sevens proves some shoppers are willing to go to great lengths for fashion. According to the Wall Street Journal, it costs about $50 to make True Religion's best-selling jeans Super T jeans, but the wholesale price reaches $152, and the average retail price is inflated to $335. Bakery goods. For items that can easily be baked at home, you could be paying 100% markup, okay? Greeting cards, 200%. Produce, 75%. And if it's pre-cut, like carrots, for example, an extra 40%. And then furniture and mattresses, 80% markup. So those are just some examples of some markup. Some of them outrageous, some of them not so much. All righty, that was number one. We have 24. So let's move on. Let's go to number 2. And pricing strategy number 2 is marginal. Oops. Where are you? You're here. It's marginal cost pricing. Okay. Remember how markup was full cost because we're covering the whole cost? In marginal cost pricing, we're just covering our marginal cost. So we're covering just the extra that it cost us to produce those last units or batches. So this is very common during sales. This is very common in retail, where you just charge additional cost to move inventory. So you're just not recognizing the full cost, right? And this is used to move inventory. By the way, on retail, when you see 75% off, and it was tagged originally $100 and it's only 25, they're still making money on it. Unless it's really, really the very last days when they apply this marginal cost, kind of everything must go type of thing. Okay, number 3, break-even cost. This is fairly simple. This is the price where you break even. So remember here that we had this little formula. Well, the margin is going to be 0. You're not making any money, but you're not losing any money. So here your price is equal to your unit cost, right? Because your margin is 0. Okay. Good. Let's move to number 4, because these ones are fairly easy, fairly straightforward, and then it gets a little bit more complex. Number 4, this is the price that minimizes unit cost. Price that minimizes unit cost. Where do we minimize the unit cost? Right? If we look at, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do here, and I'm going to insert another there. I'm going to do a proper firm level diagram because we're going to be coming back to it fairly often. I want to do one where we're not losing money. Demand, marginal revenue, marginal cost. So the price that minimizes unit cost, where do we minimize unit cost? The unit cost is minimized wherever it meets the marginal cost, right? So in this case, if we're looking for the price that minimizes unit cost, we will have to be looking at this quantity at this price, right? It doesn't have to cross right there, okay? That's just the way it's drawn. We'll be looking at that, right? So where do we find the price that minimizes unit cost? Whatever your marginal cost. I'll go back to the firm level diagram. Whatever the marginal cost equals the unit cost, okay? So whatever this is happening, whatever the marginal cost equals your unit cost, that'll be the quantity, that'll be the price. And last but not least, here in the fairly theoretical prices, we have the sweet spot, which is the price that maximizes profit. The price that maximizes profit. We know that we maximize profit where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. And I'm going to give you how you can find this, but I'll be shocked if you ever use this. The price that maximizes profit equals your marginal cost times 1 over 1 plus 1 over your elasticity, your own price elasticity. I doubt you'll use it, but now it's yours. That's the price. And I say I doubt you'll use it because you will need to know your elasticity and your marginal cost. And it depends on the data you have. You're going to be able to do that or not. So price that maximizes profit, whatever the marginal revenue meets the marginal cost. And you can find that by price that maximizes profit is marginal cost times 1 over 1 plus 1 over elasticity. And these pricing strategies, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, as I said, they are fairly, I don't want to say theoretical, but they're based on the graphs we've done and all the good stuff. Now,
Nacho,
I'm going to, sure.
Number 4, would that be what we consider like the Walmart strategy or the Sam's Club strategy, the price that minimizes unit costs?
So Walmart may be close to that. Yes, that's when you are focused on the price has to be low, and we want to make as much with the price being low. We want to ensure that the unit cost is way lower, so we're still making a reasonable margin. But it's all based on quantity. So yeah, Walmart could be a good example. Now we're going to talk more about that.
Okay.
I'm going to give you now 4 different pricing strategies. Okay, let me go back here because I hate Not seeing you for so long. Four
Doctor, I'm
different
so
versions.
sorry. Can you go back to that graph for just 1 second? For
Sure.
number 4.
Snapchat, Farouk calls. Oh, Snapchat. Is that still alive, Snapchat? You know who you are, yes? Some people are like, hell yeah. Okay.
I was just joking.
Yeah, I'll go back. Hold on, let me share from here so you can see the yeah, okay. And it was you, Marina, right? Who asked? Am I correct?
You are correct.
Not that one, this one. Oh, this one. Yes.
Yes.
So yes, Snapchats exist still. There's so many platforms and social media now that I'm only on Facebook, and I'm not justifying myself, but that's when Facebook was still cool, and I was living abroad, so I could post picture of my kids and my family would see them. But I have a question, fundamental question for anybody that is on Instagram, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Let's go with those three. Anybody is on those three, please speak now, forever hold your peace. Come on, you know who you are. Nobody in class is on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
I am.
I am.
I'm on Facebook, but not the others.
Okay, so now it's coming out of the blue. Are you done, Marina, with the graph? Were you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
So who said that it's on those three?
Me.
Okay, no, I'm barely because you're in marketing. Okay, so that's 2 or 3. How the hell do you decide in which one you post?
I'm only on one, so I don't go on the others. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on any of that.
Twitter, another one. So if you're on 4 or 5, how do we are becoming boomers? We're so boomers. I was a boomer when I've been a boomer for 20 years. How do you decide? Okay, this should be TikTok or Instagram, or this should be Facebook. That's what baffles me. That's why I'm not on more. First of all, I don't have time.
Instagram is connected to Facebook. If you post on Instagram, I think if you post on Instagram, you can also select a button that allows you to post on Facebook.
Oh.
There's services that'll let you post one thing to every media platform that
It
you're.
can go everywhere. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I may become cool then. I have all of those accounts, but I don't have time.
It depends on your audience. Like when we do marketing, we only market to people on Facebook if we're marketing 40 plus. Like it's usually for older people now. So we try to get people. Sorry, we try to get people on Facebook. If they're older, we market them there. If they're younger, if they're millennials, Instagram, and if they're Gen Z, we go to TikTok to do our marketing. So it depends on age a lot is how we decide to post. It also depends on content type. So images are great for Instagram. I would never use a system that just publishes to everywhere because it doesn't look good everywhere. And you want to craft your message differently for audiences. But like if I were in a bind for time and working at a really small organization, something like that might be good.
What's your Twitter audience consist of then?
They're millennials. And they're also like, they range, like it is also Gen X. It's people who are a little bit more informed on certain things and they have different tastes and interests of what they're like.
James, MySpace account. How about Friendster? Who's on Friendster?
I remember Friendster.
You guys are making me feel so viejo too. I'm 46, so that means I'm pure Facebook material, right? That's what I think. Okay, I'm gonna turn cool. When I grow up, I'm gonna be like Colwyn. I'm gonna be the cool cat, right?
What's
Colwyn,
funny is
you know
by the
right?
time Facebook came around, I was already social media burnt out between MySpace, Friendster, and 3 other platforms that came before it. I was like, it's all nonsense now. Who knew Facebook took off out of all the other ones?
So now let's go back to business. So the 4 strategies that I'm going to give you, you could post one on each. You see what I have to do to keep you guys entertained and awake? Thank you, Burley. Thank you. That was very good. So 4 pricing strategies I'm going to give you. Okay, and the 4 of them, we're going to charge a low price, lower than our cost or lower than our competition's cost. Okay, we're gonna lose money on this, but for 4 different reasons. Hang in there, Athena, hang in there. So for 4 different reasons, okay? So let's go there. Let me take you there. Let me take you, where is it? There, okay. So we're here, and now let's add one more page, and let's go to number 7. So 7, 8, 9, and 10.
What about 6?
What about 6?
Oh, did I jump 6? Price that maximizes profit. How come I jump 6? The hell? Oh yeah, because okay, yeah, I see what I've done. Yeah, there's number 6. Very good, just to keep me on my toes. That's the price that maximizes revenue. That maximizes revenue. This would be top of the hill, as you no doubt remember, and this is where your marginal revenue equals 0. Yeah, I'm sorry. So this is when we want to maximize our part on the industry pie. Remember when we looked at this? That's all of the industry sales. And we're talking sales in dollars. We're not talking about units, right? That's when we said, well, that industry is a $3 billion industry. So this pie is the total revenue of the whole industry, all of them put together. And maybe our size of the pie is this one. Okay. So if we were looking at our revenue function, right? Remember, top of the hill, that was the maximum revenue we could get. So the price that is going to get us that is the price that is going to get us the maximum. It's going to stretch our revenue. That's what we're trying to do, make as much as possible in revenue. We may not be maximizing our profit. We would not, as a matter of fact, but we want to make our size of the pie as large as possible in dollars, not in units, okay? That's the price that maximizes revenue. All righty. So let's go now to, if you've copied that, I'll give you a few more seconds. And we'll go to number 7. Now we are in number 7. So 7, 8, 9, and 10, they're always selling low price, okay? The first one is called predatory pricing. Predatory pricing. And here, we are in the market. This is very important. We are already in the market. It's not that we're trying to get into the market. We are in the market, and we want to kick competition out. Okay, so we are in the market and want to kick the competition out. And how do we do that? Well, we sell below cost. Until we kick the competition out. This is, by the way, illegal, but it's very, very difficult to prove. This is very difficult to prove, okay? And what you need to have? You need to have a ton of money, right? You need to have deep pockets, because you are going to be losing money on purpose until you kick competition out. What do you think is going to happen to prices once you've kicked competition out? Once you're the only one,
Goes back up.
then you're going to raise prices. Absolutely. And some examples of this that we have is, we have several. You guys remember when we were talking about, we talked about oil back in the day. We talked about how at one point with fracking, the US was becoming the main producer. It was increasing production and prices were going down. What did Saudi Arabia do? They said, no, I'm the oil guy. So we're going to increase production as much as we want to bring prices down. Predatory pricing. We want to kick people out of the market. We're going to kick the US out of this market, not completely in this case, obviously. Another example that you have is American Airlines from Dallas Fort Worth. They started lowering prices from there until they kicked all of the regional operators out. And then when they had the region for themselves, when it was not profitable for those regional operators they didn't have as deep pockets as American Airlines and they couldn't withstand that price war, they left. And then American Airlines nicely and surely started raising prices.
I think the oil thing though was different because fracking is relatively expensive due to the refinement requirements of the oil, whereas Saudi Arabia basically pure oil out the pipe ready for a refinery. So they could drop the price below American price, still make a profit. So they're not necessarily predatory, there's no loss. They're just losing profit, not revenue.
One of the advantages of Saudi Arabia compared to the US is exactly that one. And it's that the US, the break even, I don't have the latest data, but my brother-in-law used to work in that industry. He would tell me that there's roughly between 20 and 30 bucks difference between where the US breaks even and Saudi Arabia breaks even. So in that case, they didn't have to go below cost. But the objective was the same, was kick these guys out. Completely right.
Yeah.
What happened, guys?
Carlos, you're off mute.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Thumbs up. Okay. Were you guys hearing a metallic voice coming from outer space? Okay, so that's not in my head. That's good. All right, so that was predatory pricing. Let's move on to number 8. And this one is also we're going to sell, right? Not as high as we could, limit pricing. Limit pricing is common in monopolies. Okay, and we are in the market. And it's not that we're trying to kick competition out. We're not trying to kick them out. We're trying to keep them out, keep competition out. So we're using pricing as a barrier to entry. And you're going to understand in a minute why. As a barrier to entry. Okay, so how does this work? Well, this is a company that is alone in the market, and if you're making a killing, that's going to attract other competitors. So what companies do in this case, monopolies, is let's make money, but let's not make as much as we could, so we don't attract competitors. So there's such an investment to be made when there's a monopolist, that to compete with that, certainly if it's a natural monopoly, as we talked before, with huge economies of scale, if there's huge profitability to be made, well, then some people may take the plunge. If it's a profitable market, but it's not crazy profitable, that's going to keep some people out. One example of this is in the early 1900s, for example, US Steel, it had most of the market, and they could have used limit pricing, but they started charging profit maximizing prices, and they had a short-term benefit. So they had 25%, their profit was 25% of sales. That was by the early 1900s. 30 years later, remember, they used a different speed by then, they were down to 30% of market share, and profit was less than 10%. So they attracted other competitors because they were making a killing. So predatory pricing, we are in the market, same as limit pricing in the market, but in predatory, we're gonna kick competition out. In limit, we're gonna keep competition out, okay?
Could you repeat that example again, Nacho?
Sure. So US Steel, which is funny enough, steel makers in the US, in the early 1900s, they had domination of the market. I don't have the percentage, but it was close to 90% market share. And they could have used limit pricing, but what they did is milk that market. So they were charging profit maximizing prices. As much money as they could get, that's what they were doing, as much profit as they could get. What did that do? That attracted competition because there was a ton of money being made in that industry. So competitors got in, and 30 years later, by the 1930s, and I said 30 years now, it's an eternity, but back then it wasn't that long. They were down to 30% of the market, 30. And the profits that once were around 25% of sales, now they were down to less than 10% of sales. Does that make sense?
So Nacho, you're saying they could have used limit pricing.
They could have, yeah, they did not. They did not. They could have used, but they did not. Yeah. Let's go to number 9.
Nacho.
Number 9.
It's
Yes.
It's Jose.
Is it 8?
It's so let's say for limit pricing, a company like Tesla, there's nothing they can do in terms of limit pricing because there's incentives for competition to come in from incentive, like by governments incentivizing them or setting up laws out, prohibiting existing industry, right? Because the government's giving them, government's giving credits for people to buy electric cars. In addition, the government's setting up laws to, I guess, outlaw combustion cars. So it's forcing General Motors, Volkswagen, Toyota to then go to the electric side. So there's nothing Tesla could do in terms of pricing to limit competition in.
No, they could make that, they could try to make that industry less attractive, but that's not going to work. I mean, all the GE, all the companies that are making cars today, Ford, all the automakers, they know that there's going to be huge demand for cars. That's not going away. It's a matter of transforming. As a matter of fact, as we saw during this class, Tesla's, what they're trying to do through economies of scale, Jose, is to try to lower their unit costs so they can lower pricing to be more affordable. Remember, we read an article that their objective was to sell 20 million cars in, I don't remember, was it in 10 years time or something ridiculous like that, which is the one that makes the most right now, or used to, was Toyota with 13 or 14. So they're trying to build on scale. Pricing is not going to be they're not trying to sell cheaper because to make that industry not attractive. That's not going to happen. Everybody's going to get in there. Everybody's getting in.
Okay.
All righty. So we are now down to, contrary to what you people just told me, we are on number 9, right? After 8 comes 9. That's a fact. So number 9, this is called penetration pricing. Penetration pricing. And this is, you are not in the market, so you're out of the market, right? And you're trying to get in. And you're trying to get in. And this is typical of new products, okay? Typical of new products when you're trying to gain some market share. So you set an initial price very low, or you even give it out for free, trying to get market share. And once you have a customer base that has been established, then prices are raised, right? Examples of this you have the cell phone or cable providers, or HBO that gives you free some weeks, and then you start paying, that kind of thing. And this is useful when there are high switching costs. So this is useful with high switching costs. High switching cost, it means that it costs a lot to get out of your initial, the product you're in, and move into the other one. And that those switching costs could be monetary costs, but it could also be opportunity costs. It could be the time that you need to dedicate to do that. For example, anybody in this class works at PNC Bank? Anybody has family that work at PNC Bank? Anybody has interest in PNC Bank? No. Okay. Well, they sucked. At least they sucked when I was in the US. My branch sucked. And I would have loved to change. I would have loved to. But massive switching costs. Just the thought of all the direct debit that was going to that account to change it to any other bank. Just the thought of going through that process and notifying everybody, blah, blah, blah. I just want to forget it. So those were high switching costs. If I was able to test a similar product for a while for free and see if it works, then I might have taken the plunge, right? That's why companies or industries where you have high switching costs, that's where this works fine. So that's penetration pricing. So we've seen predatory, limit, penetration pricing, and now we go for the fourth one, where we're going to sell cheap, but for a different reason. And that's going to be number 10, if I'm not confused or mistaken. And number 10 is loss leading pricing. You know this one already. Loss leading pricing. But you know what? Before we move on to loss leading, let's read a couple of articles on penetration pricing. Okay, so we're going to read. We're going to read from the stack of articles from the backup that we had opened. We're going to go all the way to page 114, PDF page 114. We're looking for Netflix. We're looking for Netflix, 114. I have energy coming back to me now. Let's do this. We're in class together, people. This is awesome. It's been raining the whole freaking day here. The whole freaking day. Well, I'm lying, not in the morning. Play tennis in the morning. Then I was with my kids for half an hour, started raining. Everybody back home. And that's been my life since. Page 114, Netflix. Market penetration pricing. And I know that you cannot see it very well. I need to get all these articles again. Penetration pricing strategies can help new startups stand out and, as the name suggests, penetrate the market. Penetration pricing is when a business offers low prices on products and services. It is typically used by new companies or to support a new product launch to draw consumers away from the competition. While the use of penetration pricing generally results in initial loss of profits for a business, obviously, in the long term, the exposure gain can drive profits up. Businesses considering this pricing strategy should be able to afford to sacrifice profit margin for a period of time. You will often find that most companies that use this pricing strategy will have secured some funding to give them a runway. So once again, deep pockets. After they've successfully penetrated the market, a lot of businesses will raise their prices to reflect their position within the market. For example, Netflix, when they started. While it's now a market leader, Netflix is a great example of a business which successfully used penetration pricing to its advantage when it first launched back in 1997. Where were we in 1997? I was finishing my undergrad. Wow. take a moment. I used to work in the summers as a bartender on the shore, equivalent to the Jersey Shore, essentially, but in Spain. Those were the days. Anyway, started as a mail order, online and streaming movie rental business. Netflix used low price points initially to attract customers away from Blockbuster. Remember Blockbuster? Its largest competitor at the time. Its original package offered tier price points and enabled customers to rent 3 DVDs simultaneously for $14.99, amounting to just over $1 per DVD per month for customers that took up the offer each week. This low pricing, combined with its streaming and online offering, enabled Netflix to pull in subscribers and gain a competitive advantage. Years later, in 2013, we could see Blockbuster go into administration while Netflix continued to thrive. Okay, so that's one example of penetration pricing. Now, let's go back to, there's a lot of people chatting. Shanga Friendster, Mike Shanga. The hell is Shanga? Classmates.com. Wow. I have homework to do. Whenever this class is over, I'm going to check all of that stuff. Let's go to screen and let's go now with loss leading pricing. So loss leading pricing, you know this, for example, Kindle that we talked. For this, you need 2 complement products. What time is the break, guys? How long do we have till the break? And don't tell me whenever you want or now, or that kind of BS that you told me last time. When is typically
Half an hour.
So we have half an hour to go? Okay. So 2 complement products, and we're selling one at price, at cost or below cost to sell the complement product, right? So one at or below cost to sell the other. Example of this, we've seen several. We mentioned the Kindle, we mentioned printers and toners, razors and razor blades, and all that stuff. So 4 of them with same result, low prices, but for 4 different reasons, okay? Now we move on to number 11, which is price skimming. Number 11, price skimming. And in price skimming, you have price that varies over time. I'm going to give you an example you can understand. That's a glass. That's why it's called skimming. It's like skimming the cream off the top. What does Apple do with the iPhone? What do they do? Well, they go, the latest one is going to go for $1,200. That's the latest one. And you're going to have some early adopters that are going to pay that. You're going to have that. My former boss, when I was in the US, Mitchell Rona, also alumni of this program. He was on my study group, and he gave me a job. He is a total early adopter for technology. So there's a new iPhone that comes out. He has to have it. He has to have it. What does he do with the one he has? Gives it to either wife or one of his 2 sons, to the point that at one point his 12-year-old had a better phone than anybody else that I knew, but it's because his dad had to have the watch, the everything, early adopter, willing to pay $1,200. And then what Apple does is, okay, I've already skimmed this part of the market. So now you can have that iPhone, if you want it, instead of for $1,200, now you only have to pay $900. But why? Because the new iPhone came out. And then if you want that one, oh, that's $1,300. And they're skimming the top of the market each time. So here on this You have the 1200 that then you're going to be able to buy 900, and then you're going to be able to have for 500 till eventually you have it for free, right? But what does this need? Well, this is targeting initially early adopters. And it requires constant innovation, right? Because you need to come up with the next big thing. So the previous model, you can start selling it slightly cheaper. And this works. What do you think the demand? Will it be fairly elastic or fairly inelastic?
Demand of the early adopters, you mean?
Yeah, so to be able to apply this, to be able to charge very high prices.
Inelastic.
Inelastic, very good, fairly inelastic. You have to have a powerful brand, you have to have loyal following, etc., etc. And we can see, we're going to go to the articles again, and we're going to look at a couple of things. We're going to open the one that is marked with number 16 of the list of, not in the backup articles, but the ones that are numbered. Number 16. 5 pricing moves companies made in 2020. And we're going to go to paragraph A. Remember, we've been talking about this. And, okay, let me see, because it's not going to be paragraph A that we're interested in. It's going to be more paragraph D, I believe. This is the right article. Yes, paragraph D. This is the one. The Goldilocks effect, for some reason. Apple Inc. Apple Inc. this year released 5 Goldilocks. That's Rapunzel, right? Of all the princesses that I know from Disney, Rapunzel was the one with the hair. Yeah, my 3-year-old daughter told me off completely because I had mistaken that one with Elsa from Frozen, and she didn't talk to me for like an hour. It was tragic. You know what I'm talking about. Apple this year released 5 new iPhone models, the most in the device's history. Apple started in 2007 with 1 iPhone, but soon established a good, better, best strategy, where budget and premium products flank Goldilocks options. For years, the company did this by keeping older models around at slashed prices. There you go. Those are the ones that were moving down. In recent years, it has introduced more new options at various price tiers. This year's lineup ranged from the $399 late adopter targeted iPhone SE to the feature-packed $1,099 iPhone 12 Pro Max, with a just right iPhone 12 in the middle. Remember, we talked substitute products, how you could play with pricing to steer your audience towards one or the other. The company also gave Apple Watch shoppers 3 tiers of options for the first time, where it may be more confusing for consumers to navigate the price and quality differences between the models. This kind of price ladder is strategic and ubiquitous, and it happens a lot, from airline cabins to gas pumps. The trick with offering multiple versions of a product is to offer enough to help people identify their own strike price, but not enough to overwhelm them, says Rags Srinivasan, an independent pricing consultant. Apple is best at this, he said, creating variation between models in the number of camera lenses and the different levels of storage capacity. And you can see there that graph, proliferation of choice, how if you look to the left, the iPhone that came out in 2007, then it was the 3G 2008, 3GS, and then we started with, okay, in 2009, you had the 3G and 3GS, that then went down in price into when the 4 came out, and the 4 went down in price when the 4S came out, and the 5, and so on. And you can see how they're keeping some around to do that price skimming. So they are masters at this. Okay. All righty. Yes. Any questions, comments, concerns? No. Perfect.
Hey, Nacho,
let's
are there any just broad-based guidelines between when you do good, better, best, that gap, that percent gap you need between those stages for it to be effective?
It depends on the product. It depends. There's an article. This is Neil, right?
Yep.
Neil, there's an article that is on the backup articles. I think is the last one that talks about pricing psychology in terms of, for example, what's the best way of selling a $2,000 watch? Just put it next to a $10,000 watch. And then you're gonna, because the way the human brain compares is by comparison, is by contrast. So it depends where you wanna steer your shoppers towards. It depends on the product you're selling, it depends on the features. So there's not a rule of thumb. What it is clear is that, and I think this very same article that we're looking at, paragraph E, I believe talk about that. There you go. If we look at paragraph E, on the same article we're at, 1 is the loneliest number. It tells you about a research paper that it tells you about you need to have different levels, even if it's just to sell one of them. It says a seminal 1992 research paper looked at $275 bread baking appliance sold by Williams-Sonoma. When the retailer added a second model, similar to the first but larger and more expensive at $429, sales of the cheaper model doubled. Why? Because pricing is an indication for us. It's the main source of information in terms of quality, exclusivity, how good that product is going to be. When they had just one bread baking appliance at $275, people couldn't compare. Is this expensive? Is this cheap? That's why it's so difficult to set price for a brand new product, because you're not comparing it with anything you already have. But they put it next to one that was $429, all of a sudden it looks like a bargain. But I wouldn't be able to tell you, Neil, they should have placed it at 550, the other one, or this one at 235. There's a ton that goes into that. Does it make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Just whether, 10 to 15, the bands were 10, 15, 20, 25, just rough guesstimate. But I get it. It makes sense on product and industry and other things.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
So let's move on to number 12, which is premium pricing. And this one you're very familiar with, and you've suffered a ton of times. Premium pricing, well, this is clear. We want to convey exclusivity, right? Why do they charge you $20, $30, $50, $100, whatever, to get into one of those clubs in New York City? Because it's exclusive. Not everybody can get in. Unless you go with my wife, as I went once, and then she didn't have to pay and I had to pay, but for both of us, it was still exclusive. 5-star hotels, first class air travel. And we're going to read an article that talks about how exclusive we can get, okay, with pricing. And that is let me find it here, is page 50 of the backup of articles. This olive oil costs more than a Honda Civic. Go figure. Ever wanted to dress a salad in $100 bills? Now you can. The pitch, get ready for this. Page 50 of the backup of articles. An olive oil that costs more than a first-class ticket to Greece, the land of all things olive. That's what the company behind Lambda, built as the world's first personalized olive oil, is offering. For $15,000, that's $147 per teaspoon. And this is no simple bottle of salad dressing, says Maker's Experience, which calls it a luxurious way to enjoy life. Experience sources the oil right down to the particular trees the olives are harvested from, and presses and bottles it to preserve maximum freshness and fruitiness, says a company spokesperson. The brand also classifies the oil as ultra premium, a category that goes beyond extra virgin. Stay with me, Brand, stay with me. But what really distinguishes Lambda, the brand notes, is the packaging. The nearly 17-ounce bottle is embossed with the recipient's signature and comes in a lacquer case with a gold nameplate. And if we were in class, I would continue to talk in the same tone until the person that is literally falling asleep could wake up by all of us clapping or something like that. Stay with me, Brand. I'm talking to you. Stay with me. Thumbs up, both of them. Grab some coffee, buddy. I know it's been a tough weekend. Grab some candy. Stay with me. We're almost there. A taste of reality. While the demand for olive oil is starting to rival that of wine among the culinary cognoscenti, most experts say a great bottle can be had for $20 or so. Zingerman's, a Michigan-based purveyor that carries an extensive selection of high-end oils, says its priciest offering goes for $60 and comes from an Italian producer that releases only 2,000 bottles a year. As for the packaging, the foodie crowd doesn't seem impressed. It's marketing, fashion, what have you, says Rudy Ridgway. Get ready. Author of 4 books on olive oil. Not 1, 2, or 3, but this lady has written 4 books on olive oil. But that's precisely the point. Athena knows about olive oil from her time in Greece. Tell us all about it, Athena. You're obviously originally from Greece, right? You were born and raised there, and then you moved to the US. Let me finish the article, and then you show us pictures and all that good stuff.
You have to talk to Farouk.
Okay. So this is for very special people, says a spokesman. Very special indeed. I would add $15,000 per bottle. So that's premium pricing, right? I have more premium pricing. I have some other stuff there, some other articles, but I think this frames the thing fine. So what's the opposite of premium pricing? You may be wondering. I'm glad you do, because now we're going to talk about economy pricing. Economy pricing, and this is no frills pricing, right? Clear examples of this, of economy pricing, are the dollar store, right? At the dollar store, you're spending $1, funnily enough, and maybe the thing that you bought, it breaks before you leave the store, but hey, you pay $1 for it, or it lasts forever. There's huge variation in quality there, but that's economy pricing, which is fairly simple. Now, we're going to one that is very interesting, 14, and this is psychological pricing. Okay, psychological pricing. What is psychological pricing? Well, here we're trying to get the customers to respond at an emotional level. And this is all about the 0.99. It's not even $1. There's a TV, we're looking for a TV for the laundry room, plasma TV at $999. It's not even $1,000, honey. Let's buy it. And the scary thing of this is that it totally works. And we're going to read some research on it, how we get tricked into this every time. If you go to, in the backup of articles, you go to page 105, and this is one of the articles, Neil, that I was talking about when we were talking about pricing psychology. Is it 105? Yes. Go to the page 105 and scroll down where it says, challenging a timeless tradition. Okay. And ending prices in 9 does something to our brain. Ending prices with the number 9 is one of the oldest methods in the book, but does it actually work? The answer is a resounding yes, according to research from the journal Quantitative Marketing and Economics. Prices ending in 9 were able to outsell even lower prices for the same product. The study compared women's clothing price at 35 versus 39 and found that the prices ending in 9 outperformed the lower prices by an average of 24%. Sale prices, like was 60 bucks, now only 45, were able to beat out the number 9. But when the number 9 was included with a slash sales price, for example, was 60 and now only 49, it again outperformed lower price points. For example, consumers were given the following choices. I think this is hugely interesting how our brain tricks us. Was 60 now only 49, 45? Was 60 now only 49? The sale price ending in 9 outsold the one ending in 5, even though it was more expensive. Apparently pricing with 9s may be an old trick, but it's still effective. Okay, that's the psychological pricing. You are reacting, when we say an emotional level, is your brain tricks you into it. Okay, so let's move down the list. You guys hang in there. You're doing fine. Remember, this is the last time you have to endure me. So number 15, this is freemium pricing. And freemium pricing, it's, you guessed it, free plus premium. For example, you get one product or one part, one product or service that is free, and then premium, you have to pay a premium for access or functionality. Can you think of any example of freemium pricing where it's free, but then you have to pay a premium for extra access or
A lot of
Extra features.
phone games.
Okay, online games, the
Extra
Wall Street
features.
Journal. Yeah, there's a ton of digital newspapers now that you get in. Yeah, you can read a bit, you can read a bunch of articles, but if you go on the whole thing, then you have to pay an extra. You see these with software. There's some software you can get for free, so you can get a PDF reader for free, but if you want to edit, then you have to pay. So
All
that's
the
free.
Amazon streaming apps, they're all free, but then you have to pay to actually watch something.
Exactly, exactly. So those are all examples of freemium, which takes us to number, hold on, seeing here that I had an article on freemium, but to turn it around. Okay, now, so let's move to number 16. This one is easy and we love it. This is promotional pricing. And by the way, these pricing strategies are not independent from each other, okay? You can have a promotional pricing, which essentially means sales, that end in 99, because it makes total sense. And you that may be equal your marginal cost. And so you are combining some of these. And sales are always perceived as temporary. Why? Every commercial about sales says for a limited time only, but they don't tell you what the time is, right? They don't tell you it's a limited time only. You have 2 months to buy these jeans at a reduced price. No, that creates a sense of urgency. Remember, when we look at elasticity, the demand covers a shorter period of time and therefore is more inelastic. You have less time to shop around, perceived time to shop around to compare. So promotional pricing. Now we get to number 17. Number 17 is optional product price. Optional product pricing. And this is when you can understand this early immediately. There is one of the low-cost airlines in Europe. The most famous one is called Ryanair. Okay, Ryanair is famous because of their cost containment. It's also famous because they wanted to put in their planes toilets that work with coins. And also they wanted to, and they patented a design where you wouldn't be sitting down in the plane. You'll be standing up like in the subway, leaning on something with a seatbelt and hanging like this, okay? And if you buy a ticket with Ryanair, but actually now with most airlines, okay, you want to go from Madrid to Newark because you're going to go to teach next year, and you're going to see people face to face, and you're going to see them, and they're going to go to see you, and then you're going to have a few drinks, and you're going to crack economics jokes. That's what we want to do. Okay, so the flight is going to be only 7 left. Even UPS. What are we talking about, people? You guys have like a parallel chat here, a parallel life going on that I see. Anyway, you want to fly to New York from Madrid? That's fine. $1,000. That's the trip. Oh, you want to bring luggage? That's fine, but that's an extra $25. How about you want Wi-Fi? It's fine. We can give you that too. You're going to pay another. You want to eat? What do you mean you want to eat? Okay, we'll give you something. So you bought a good or a service, and then they're trying to sell you many more to make the total basket price way larger. So airlines are good at that, for example, and we're going to see also in a minute another example. But optional product pricing, essentially, companies are trying to increase the dollar spent by customers once they start buying. Okay, this is optional product pricing. Those are those extras that increase the overall price of the product or service. So companies are trying to increase the dollar spent by customers once they start buying. And we're going to look at, what are we going to look at? We are going to look at page 100 in the backup of articles. And we can look at our friend. Actually, no, hold on, because I think that I posted this so you could see it better. Let me go real quick to Canvas. I think this is separated there somewhere. Rent control, supervised target. No, I did not. So yeah, page 100 in backup of articles, and it talks about Live Nation. Live Nation testing VIP lounges, pricey drinks to lift revenues at concerts. And that article, if we start reading from the beginning, we're not going to read it all. You're going to get the message fairly quick. Live Nation Entertainment wants music fans to spend as much money at its shows that they do at a Disneyland outing. Good luck with that, right? Now, the country's biggest concert promoter, this is pre-COVID, obviously, just has to figure out how to get that done in what is a much shorter time frame. It's part of an effort to boost the slim profit it makes selling concert tickets. Live Nation has focused on boosting the amount each fan spends on average on items such as food and drinks. Spending at its amphitheaters grew 10% this year over last to $22 a day. It hopes ultimately to lift that figure to at least $30, akin to what major league ballparks collect when visitors per visitor, Jesus, and near estimates of Disney parks roughly $40 a visitor. At the 40+ amphitheaters and the festivals he runs, executive says. So these guys, how are they doing that? Live Nation is experimenting with a range of new ideas, from using smartphone apps to market services, selling more wine and high-priced craft beers to VIP lounges, and using brightly clad ambassadors to direct fans to the least busy concession stands. And if you scroll down till you see a graph there on that same article, that we were on page, I just went off, page 100 we went, yeah. If you scroll down, you're gonna see a comparison per visitor, fund spending, there you go. Average per person spending on site at select entertainment and sports venues. Disneyland, $40, sporting events, $30, and then Live Nation is at 22, and they wanna get there. By raising the prices it charges for the concert? No. You get into the concert, and now we're gonna feed you, we're gonna get you drunk, and we're gonna sell you a couple of t-shirts. Those were the days, right? All right, let's move to number 18. We're getting there, people. We're getting, yeah, let's look at number 18, and then we'll take the break, okay? So let's go number 18. Number 18, it has a very original name. It's called two-part tariff pricing. And this consists on a price that has two parts, and one of them is a tariff. So this is fairly clear. Two-part tariff pricing. So this consists of a fixed fee plus a variable based on usage. So you pay something fixed, and then you're gonna pay something based on usage. And this fixed fee usually covers the fixed costs. A clear example is a taxi, not an Uber, a taxi. A taxi, you stop a taxi in New York City, and just getting in and out, that's $5 or whatever it is, $3. And then it depends how far you go, that you're gonna be paying more or less. That's a two-part tariff price. We have a fixed fee that covers fixed cost, and then you have a variable based on usage. Another one example, Costco, right? You have a membership fee, and the more you buy, obviously, the more you're gonna spend. Or a bar. When you get into a bar and there's a cover, right? Those premium pricing we're saying, you're gonna pay $20 to get in. That's the fixed fee. And then the more you drink, obviously, the more you're gonna spend. All righty. Let's take a break. I believe the break is 15 minutes, correct? All right, so I'll see you back on 15 minutes. People, you're doing very well. I know this is tough. Just hang in there.
Nacho, can you go back to 13 and 14 real quick?
Sure. 13 and 14, you said, right?
Yes, sir.
There you go. Economy pricing is the no-frills pricing, and psychological pricing is the one at the emotional level, the ones with the 9. Do you have questions about those, or it was just because you didn't copy the stuff?
Yeah, I missed the stuff. I stepped away to the bathroom real quick.
All right. All righty. So I will see you in 15 minutes, and then we'll go through the ones that we have left, and we'll have time to cover some of the stuff, and then to start saying our goodbyes. Well, no, because we'll have the exam, so that's when we'll all cry together and get the matching tattoos. So, all right, guys, I will see you in 15 minutes. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
All righty. See you in a minute. back. And we're back. I'm sorry. Took a little bit longer than expected to read the story to one of the kids. Good times. Last leg. Noah, how are you feeling? Thumbs up. Athena, tell us all about your childhood in Greece. You can make it up. Doesn't matter. Just
Okay.
we'll believe you. I mean, how are we gonna?
Earl keeps thinking that I am from Greece, but I'm not actually.
You are not.
Mm-mm.
Athena
I am
Patrikios.
actually born here. I am an American, but my family is from Cyprus.
Let me stop you there. I'm an American too, and I was born in Leon. So
No. I don't have an accent. You do.
You're from Cyprus. You're from Cyprus.
Yeah.
You're from Cyprus. Okay. Beautiful country, great people. Never been, but I'm sure it is. There's a ton of there's a ton of tourism to Cyprus. So how's the country doing right now? How's the motherland? You don't know?
It's, on lockdown from COVID.
Which is applicable to any country you may be in the world. All righty. So pricing strategies. How are you finding pricing strategies? It's a comprehensive list, people. You're going to be able to, in the final exam, everybody perked up. Everybody looked at the screen for a second. The final exam, you'll be able to put them to good use and make some good and sound recommendations, I'm sure. Which pricing strategy are we at? We were at 80, right? Two-part tariff. Okay. So yeah, I think we're good for timing. We're going to be all right. Prosenjit, we're going to be okay. Stop worrying, buddy. We got this. When are you guys going to be able to go back to class? So now this is supposed to be REMBA is going to be online next year.
Hopefully in the fall, yeah.
In the fall. Wow, it's going to be a shock. Like all these people together. Is it week in residence too?
I don't know, Marina.
Presumably so, but
Have you had a week in residence together as a group? No?
Not yet.
Oh my God. And now you know each other. So there's no awkwardness at the bar. You already know each other. So you can let's just get on with it. Let's just order drinks. Good for you. But no trip though? You guys are not going to China? No?
That's a sore subject. Move on.
Yeah, I didn't mean China. I mean, whether you guys are gonna ace my exam. That's what I was asking. Yes, you're gonna ace my exam. Okay, good. All right, let's move on then. I step on a landmine there. Let's talk now about number 19. Okay, and now I'm gonna give you two pricing strategies that work more or less on volume, and there'll be a third I'll give you later on, but they work slightly different. Okay, so let's go to number 19. Number 19 you've heard of, I'm sure, is bundle pricing, right? Bundling. Bundle pricing. So first thing we need to think about is that we're talking about different products. This is important. Different products. Okay. And you have several together in a package. Several together in a package. And you're going to sell them lower than if sold separately. So you sell them lower than separately. And how does this work? Well, let's say that there's a shampoo that individually is $10. And there's a moisturizing cream that individually is also $10. And another product you may sell with that is $10 separately. But together in a very nice package, you can have them all for $20 or $25. That's bundling. Different products together in a package, and the total price is lower than if you bought them separately, which brings us to two types of bundling. You have pure bundling, which means you can buy all or none. And then you have mixed bundling, where you can buy all or separately. Okay, so bundle pricing, different products that are together in a package and you sell them lower than separately. Can you think of any examples of bundle pricing?
Cable companies.
Disney Channel.
Somebody said cable companies?
Yeah.
Yes. So
you
the
buy
package,
your phone, internet, yeah, your phone and internet through them, then it's like super cheap. If not, it's like extremely high individually.
exactly. The all-inclusive resorts, right? If you were to buy, okay, I'm going to buy the resort and then I'm going to be buying the drinks or the food or whatever, or all together, it's cheaper. Or the vacations, you can buy through the same company, air, hotel, and the meals, and that's cheaper than if you just buy them separately. Those are all examples of bundle pricing, okay? Disney Plus, somebody said Disney Plus, that's subscription based and you pay $6.99 or whatever that is, and you get access to all of the movies that if you were buying them separately, obviously it'll be way more expensive. So that's bundle pricing. The second strategy that deals with these kind of several products together, but is different to bundle pricing, is block pricing. Okay.
Hey, Nacho, before you go to block pricing, can you just tell me what's the word before buy all or none? What is that word?
Oh, pure.
Pure. Okay. Thanks.
Pure. Buy all or none versus mixed, which is here. Typically, companies go for pure bundling. So now number 20 is block pricing. And here we also have, here we actually have same product packed together. And this is a buy all or none. For example, a 6-pack of beer. For example, a package of 4 toilet rolls, toilet paper. You can just open the package and just buy 1 roll. You can just take 1 beer from the 6-pack. You buy all or none. That's block pricing, okay? And it's the same product. In bundle pricing, we had different products packed together. And there'll be another strategy that deals with volume, but that I cannot put in right now because it goes kind of, it has its own particularities. So that's block pricing. Fairly simple to understand. We get into the end of the line here. Number 21. This is called price leadership. And this is when one price leader sets the price and then the followers' strategy is to match the price leader. This is not collusion. This is not that they agree on what the price is going to be, but there's one price leader. One price leader that sets up the price, and then follower matches that price. This happens in industries where there's one player that is a dominant player in the market, and companies tend to follow that leader. But this is also in industries where you're not selling on price. There's no price wars. This is more about, okay, we're all going to sell at pretty much the same price. And now we need to compete on services, value, added stuff, and whatnot. And that's number 21. And now we're going to get into the last three. And the last three, they are all called price discrimination. Okay? And we're going to have 3 degrees. Funnily enough, the first degree, the second degree, and the third degree. So first of all, I'm going to tell you what is price discrimination and what are the conditions to be able to apply price discrimination. Okay? And that'll be common for the 3 degrees. And then we'll go into first degree, second degree, and third degree. Okay? Okay, we're almost getting there, people. I know. We're almost getting there. I see Jose liking this class in Twitter or whatever it is, on TikTok or whatever it is. You better be posting this. Nationomics is awesome. I can't believe this is finishing. My life is over. Anyway, so I had once in class, I'm not good. I step on landmines. There was this woman in class that it was constantly on her phone, constantly. And I said, at one moment, I made a bad joke, like, I hope you're liking this class on Facebook, but I would rather if you just didn't do that and you pay attention. And she looked at me and she killed me. And she said, I'm dealing with an emergency here, my son at school, and then started talking about all the problems that the son had at school. And as she was talking, I was slowly but surely moonwalking my way back to the whiteboard. And I said, okay, that was my bad. Let's continue with the class. But Jose, something tells me you're not dealing with an emergency. I may be totally wrong, but you were cracking up there. So good for you. It's Sunday after all. And I hope that's water that you're drinking. Oh, by the way, the day of the final exam, once we're done with the final exam, we corrected, we said everything. If you guys want to have a drink, each of you in your own house with me, still on Zoom or whatever it is that we're doing, that'll be like finishing the exam and going for a drink across the road on Rockers. So I'll stay for a drink if you guys want to have a beer with me. But now that I realized this is being recorded, that was a total joke. I'm not going to drink with the students. We're drinking with the students. That would be, oh, come on. Who would like to lose their job because of that? I need this job. Don't do this.
Cut, edit.
Yeah, we can do that. Whomever is the president of this class, whomever is the president of communication, the vice president of the state, just cut that stuff out, please. Do me a favor. Price discrimination, people. Now that you woke up, price discrimination. Let's go to pricing discrimination. So now I'm going to tell you common trends of price discrimination. So what is it, etc. And then we'll look at the different degrees. Price discrimination. And essentially, price discrimination is selling the same product or service at different prices. Okay, so exact same product or service, but at different prices. When can we do this? Well, we must have market power. We must have market power, which means being able to set your own price. So we're talking about monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic competition. Must have market power, so you being able to set your own price. So that's a monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic competition. We must be able to know or guess the demand. And you must be able to limit or prevent resale. Okay? And what's the objective of pricing discrimination? Maybe wondering, you're gonna add revenue that cannot be achieved otherwise. Okay, that's the objective. Add revenue that cannot be achieved otherwise. So price discrimination, we're selling the same product or service, but at different prices. We must have market power, so we must be able to set our own price. Therefore, this does not apply in perfect competition. This is for monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic competition. We must be able to know or guess the demand, and we must be able to limit or prevent resale. And our objective is to add revenue that cannot be achieved otherwise. Okay? To add revenue that cannot be achieved otherwise. And we're going to start looking at first degree price discrimination. As long as you guys have copied that.
Hey, Nacho, what would be the example for this?
I'm sorry?
What would be the example for this? Like something like this happening?
Oh, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there. We're going to look at first degree price discrimination, second degree, and third with plenty of examples.
Okay.
We're getting there. Those peanuts are around the corner. So let's start with, and if you're not done copying, let me know and I'll come back. We'll start with first degree price discrimination. And this will be number 22, 5% of the grade. 22, first degree price discrimination. First degree price discrimination. And I'm going to explain it to you first. I mean, I'm going to tell you need to write first, and then I'm going to tell you about examples. This one is based, very important, on each individual own price elasticity of demand. Okay, based on each individual's own price elasticity of demand. And we're trying to charge each customer. So we're going to change the price for each customer as close to their reservation price as possible. Reservation price is the maximum, I believe we covered this in the past. Reservation price is the maximum that each customer is willing to pay for the good or service. This is the maximum each customer is willing to pay. my reservation price for one good will be different than any of you. You may be willing to pay up to, for a car, up to 50 grand, I may stop at 45, whatever that may be, okay? So first degree price discrimination, based on each individual's own price elasticity of demand. We're trying to charge each customer as close to the reservation price as possible, so as close to the maximum they're willing to pay as possible. This is obviously difficult to implement, difficult or expensive to implement, because you need to know very, very, very well your your consumer's individual elasticity. So it's difficult, expensive to implement at grand scale, right? Because you need to know, you need to have a very good understanding of each customer's individual elasticity, and you're trying to capture all the revenue. Sorry, did I do there? Screen. I don't want to touch. Let's come back here. There you go. This thing, let's put it there. All revenue under the demand. So I'm trying, this is quantity and price. This is my demand. I'm trying to capture all of this because I'm trying to charge whomever is willing to pay this high price, I'll sell it at that price. Whomever is willing to pay at that one, I'll sell it to him, and so on. So copy that, and I'm going to give you a very, very clear example.
So you're going to a car dealer.
The car dealer, exactly. Did I tell you the story about how we buy cars, my wife and I? I think we did that, didn't we?
I don't think so.
Yes. So that's exactly that. You go to a car dealership, and what they're trying to figure out is how much is this guy, how much is this sucker willing to pay for that car? And I'm trying to charge him as close to that price as possible. And it's difficult and expensive at a grand scale, but at the car dealership, I can talk to the customers. What do you do? Oh, okay, and those are nice shoes. The price is going up. And you're trying to sell for that very same car. If you have two that are exactly the same in the lot, someone may be able to pay or willing to pay up here, and that's what you charge them. And someone may be willing to go just up here. That's what you will charge. First degree price discrimination. This is based on each individual's own price elasticity of demand. So that's tough because you need to know each individual. Okay. Another example. No, actually, that will go with third degree. Any questions about first degree price discrimination?
That'd also be like travel sites when they like tag your cookies and the price will increase like the more you check the flight or the more you check the hotel.
So they are reading on your own price elasticity of demand, right? They're saying this person fairly inelastic for this. They're willing to pay. They really want to go to Cyprus. They've heard about how beautiful, wonderful people are in Cyprus, the tourism, they just want to go there. So price keeps going up, right? That's a good example. Other examples. China, a place you guys are, I don't know if you're going or not going, but if you go to buy a watch in one of those markets, Rolex, fake Rolex, as we call them. So you want to get a Rolex, you go there, and if you go there with the travel guide here, and you're looking like this at the place and taking pictures everywhere, your price is just going sky high. Why? Because they're thinking this sucker is going to pay, has no idea what he's doing. So you get there, how much is that watch? Oh, that's $60, the equivalent. No, I'll give you 40. The guy's already laughing. And you sell it for 50. You could have had it for 15, easy. So, but he's trying to assess what's the reservation price. This person is not going to buy, it's not going to have access to this type of goods wherever he lives, not as easily or whatever. So that is first degree price discrimination. After the first degree, surprise, surprise, we're going to look at the second degree. So let's do just that. Second degree price discrimination. This is that other pricing strategy that I told you that had to do with volume. So we saw bundle, we saw block, and now we see second degree price discrimination. Second degree price discrimination. And this one is based on volume. Okay, so this is essentially a volume discount. So the price varies according to quantity. So the more than you buy, the cheaper the unit is. So the higher the quantity, the cheaper per unit. Okay, and this is, for example, okay, this is common in industry. It says, well, if you buy 1,000, you're gonna pay $10 per unit. But if you buy up to 5,000, then it's gonna be $8 per unit. Okay, and this is different than bundling, right? Because in bundling, you have different products. Here you have the same product. And it's different than block because both are talking about the same product, but in the block you have to buy all or none, while in the second degree price discrimination, you can buy any quantity. Okay? So that's second degree, for example, if you already see example. Buy one is $5. If you buy two, it's $8. And that's second degree price discrimination. And my left leg just fell totally and completely asleep. I hate that. Okay, so second degree price discrimination. Any questions on second degree?
Would this apply to like something in the grocery store? Like you have a box of Cheerios that's $2 for 12 ounces, but a 24-ounce box is $3.
It's more, so it could be more if it was buying one box or buying two boxes. It essentially has to be the same product, same characteristics, same weight, same everything. It's just a matter of volume within an SKU if you want.
It's like the must buy. It's like the must buy deal with the grocery store brand. Like when it's like 2 for $6, but must buy 2. Otherwise, it's like $4 individually.
Yeah, yeah. For example. Yeah, absolutely. You see, I'm turning you people. I'm turning you. Now you know that. You see Nicole, and you're gonna go shopping. You're gonna start looking, and as you're paying, and they're going click, click. You're looking like, I know, and you know, yeah, I know. All right. So that's second degree. Now we go to the last pricing strategy, third degree price discrimination. And then we're going to have plenty of time to talk about all the things. So number 24 is third degree price discrimination. Third degree price discrimination. And this is also based on elasticity, but this is based on market segment elasticity. Market segments on price elasticity of demand. So this is not down to the individual. This is not down to one person. This is down to a market segment. So if you have the more elastic segment, will have a lower price. And the more inelastic will have a higher price. Can you think of any examples? Oh, actually, and here what you're trying to do in third-degree price discrimination, I'll draw here so you have it all together. This is quantity, this is price, and this is the demand. You're not getting all of the demand, but you're getting, okay, this market segment, all of them, that's the price I charge them. And then this other market segment is cheaper, and that's all I get. So I get more under the demand, but I don't get it all. Okay, in first degree, you're trying to charge, because each individual gets a different price, and your objective is to get all of the revenue under the demand. Here, you're gonna get more than if you just had one price, but not as much. Can you think of any examples of third-degree price discrimination?
Could an example be like a supermarket chain? So the exact same milk, a more expensive supermarket chain, they'll sell that product a little bit more than in another chain, like a whole, if it's the exact same product, would that be?
So is that by geography? They'll be segmenting people in Arkansas is going to be cheaper than people in New York City, for example?
I was thinking more like if Whole Foods had the same product versus, you know, some other product, you know, chain, like a premium supermarket versus another same product, and the customer comes in, they're probably willing to spend more for the same product.
I see what you mean, James. This is not about different chains in this case. This is the same brand. So Whole Foods, they sell this milk, same milk at this price to these people, and the same milk. And if we take geography out, in the same place, these other people pay cheaper or more expensive.
I think lawn companies do that. Because when I think about the lawn, like my lawn company who services Princeton, they charge us a higher price. I've got a friend who uses the same lawn company one town over, and it's less expensive. And their homes are even, they have more grass, but it's like because we have a Princeton address, immediately it's like this premium that's put on top of the price. You go to Somerset, same exact service, and it's cheaper.
So in that case, yeah, you're segmenting people. Your customer segments are by, again, by geography. It's the obvious one, because you say, well, the same product in the US and in Europe, for example, the same iPhone, it has different prices. But think, for example, the movie theater. So you have full fare, you have senior, and you have student pricing. To see the same movie in the same place at the same time, exactly the same product. Why is it called full fare? Because all of us are in that segment of the population where we are more inelastic because we can afford a higher price. So we'll pay a higher price. Senior and student are more elastic because of their purchasing power. So they're going to pay different prices, lower prices. And they're segmenting people based purely on age. That's the segmentation you do. And that would be different if you were trying to apply to see the difference between third and first degree. If you were trying to apply first degree price discrimination in a movie theater, it would go like this. Next Tom Hanks movie comes out. I love Tom Hanks. And there's this guy that has been sleeping by the kiosk where they sell the tickets for the night because he wants to be the first one. And when he gets there, he's like, oh my God, I love Tom Hanks. I love it. He shows the neck tattoo with the face of Tom Hanks. I've seen his movies 3,000 times. And he's telling this information to the ticket seller. He goes, of course, it's $300 the ticket. Because you're also the first one on the line, because he thinks he's going to pay. As opposed to, I have a date and I'm roaming around the movie theater because I've been stood up. Poor Nacho. And the movie has already started. And then I walk there and I go, so what movie is on? Oh, it's the latest one from Tom Hanks. Okay, well, I don't really care. How much is it? Do you like Tom Hanks? I don't know who it is. I was going on a date and they stood me up. So how long is left? An hour and a half. I probably won't stay for the whole thing. How much? $3. Why? Because I'm not going to pay more than that. Because my own price elasticity in that case, my reservation price is very low compared to the freak that really wants to see that movie. So you don't apply first degree in movie theaters. You do it You could online, if someone has expressed through, you could analyze people's activity, taste, etc., to try to determine who likes what, and based on that, charge them a higher price. But the internet would be a riot because prices are very public. People, as the minute that someone feels they've been charged more than their neighbor, forget it. The reputation of the company will go down in flames. So that's third-degree price discrimination.
What
Yes.
about buying tickets in advance, versus like the day of, which would be more inelastic?
So you may be in that case, if everybody that buys tickets 1 month in advance, I tell you what, there's some executive education courses that if you are an early bird and you sign before whatever time, you're gonna get a cheaper price. It's the same good, it's the same executive education you're gonna get with the same professors and university, everything. But they're segmenting people based on who is signing earlier and who's taking longer to apply. Yeah, absolutely.
Nacho, just was the example that I gave, was that an example that fits for third degree? The supermarkets being the same city? It's James, sorry. Supermarkets in the same city.
I'm just scrolling, I'm looking for you, there you are. So in the same city, if it's different companies selling that product, then it doesn't count. Price discrimination is the same company selling the same product to different prices for different people. What you describe is just competition. One chain.
Yeah, no, I mean, like even if they have different, so it would, if it is an example of any product, if they have a different chain, a different brand of store, depending upon the customer client type, and they sell the same box of milk, then it is a price discrimination.
Yeah. So Nordstrom, is it Nordstrom? Is it how you call it? Nordstrom? Yeah. Was that the
Nordstrom's? Yeah.
The high up chain. So same product, the exact same product. If they sold it differently, well, Nordstrom in New York City, for example, they're going to sell at a higher price than the same product if you just move to New Jersey. But then we're talking geography, which is the easiest of them all. Okay, people, I feel like you're ready to conquer the world right now. Colwyn, how are you doing? You're doing okay? Stretching out? Good. Anissa, you good?
So Nacho, real quick, I had a quick question.
Hold on, Anissa was first. I'm sorry.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, sorry. Quick question on the difference between block pricing and bundle for the mixed. So under bundle, you had mixed all/separately. And then under block, you had buy all or none, right? So I understand the block buy all or none because it's the same, 6-pack of beer. But I didn't really understand the mixed all/separately for bundle.
So for example, you could buy, there are 3 products we say, right? That you can buy not the 3 of them, but you just buy 2 of them and it's still cheaper in unit price. But that's very rare. I have never seen it, like certainly not in retail or in consumer products. You may see that on traveling, for example, that they tell you, okay, you can buy the airline and the hotel, or the airline, the hotel, and you have different prices based on that, always cheaper than if you bought them separately.
Got it. Thank you.
Does it make sense? Sure. There was another question. Who was
me? I was Noah. Can you see me?
Talk to me.
So
I'll see you in a minute.
For third degree price discrimination, you said that the more elastic segment will have a lower price, but that isn't the more elastic side the upper side of the demand curve? But
remember, fairly elastic demand, fairly inelastic demand. Within each of them, the top side is the elastic, the bottom side is the inelastic. I'm not talking about the side within the same demand. I'm talking about if the demand for the students' demand is by definition more elastic for movies because they have less money and other places to entertain themselves. Let's just put it that way. While full fare, like us, more inelastic. Why? Because we just have more purchasing power. So I'm not talking about the side of the demand we're in. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes.
Okay, perfect. Any more questions?
Just to reinforce the difference between the first degree and the third degree price discrimination. With the third degree, it's just that you're thinking about a group of people as opposed to first degree, which is just that one individual. Okay,
Yes,
got it.
yes.
Thank you.
That's the only difference. The first one is more difficult to implement at the grand scale, but the difference is that either, imagine first degree is essentially doing customer segments where each customer is a segment, essentially with their own taste, preferences, purchasing power, and whatnot.
Thank you.
Okay. Sure. All right, guys and gals, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of the world. Wow, you are almost done with Nachonomics. We have an hour left. I have still, I want to show you a couple of things. We are going to, so to me, it's important that I show you the real life example. To me, that's more important than we talk about game theory, okay? So I'm going to start by the real life example. If we have time, we'll cover game theory, but game theory, you could have 10 classes on game theory. It's a very, very broad subject and it goes very deep. And what I'm going to give you is a half an hour brush up, just so you know what it is, okay? So let me show you a real life example. I think it adds more value, okay? So for that, unfortunately, we need to talk a bit about statistics, okay? But, well, that's okay. You've just had the roses. I can see your face at least. And then like, okay, I thought it was going to be fun. So I'm gonna show you a presentation. I never do PowerPoint. This is a rare occasion that we're gonna very briefly go over multiple regression analysis, okay? But in a nachos kind of way, okay? So it's not gonna be, I'm not gonna cover this again. You already know this. You may not know that you know it, but I'm gonna show you how you use this in real life. Because it's a very powerful tool to do forecasting, to do a ton of different things. And certainly that's what I use in the real life example. So what I'm gonna ask you to, or actually I'm gonna open it here. I have to share my screen here. Do I? No, because then I'll see if you're falling asleep or not. So I'm gonna ask you to open from, it should be on class documents. We are gonna open, let's see, Canvas, class documents, just comparative static analysis, commodities, cost review. It's not there. Okay, wow. You may be out of the woods with this. Okay, so how the hell, I'm gonna show this to you. Damn. Give me 1 second, guys. I sort this out. Sigma example, quantitative. Okay. We're gonna do this. I have nothing here on this leaf, nothing on this one. I have a drive here, and this should be here somewhere. I'm gonna send it to myself, and I'm gonna share with you. In the meantime, somebody for 5% of the grade, tell me one thing you've learned in this class. And don't look at your notes. One thing.
You live in Spain.
One thing you remember. Just
Third
one
degree
thing.
price discrimination.
It could be good, Andy. It's quite recent, so that makes total sense. It could be my wife being struck by lightning. Something that you've learned in this class. You're killing me now. I'm listening.
7 tools.
7 tools of Nachonomics. That's a total 5% of the grade right there. Anything else?
About price elasticity.
Price elasticity, good. Do you feel that you learned something that you can use, or have you already used something from this class?
Yes.
Okay, thanks for the white lie. That's good.
I did use it. I wrote you about it.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I hope, guys, that you feel like you're learning something that you can apply. Okay, we're almost there. So regression analysis, quantitative demand analysis, regression, pam, 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 and loading, send, done. And now we come here and we are gonna upload it from my email. And here I should have got, should come in. I'm not sharing my screen, right? I don't think you see my email right now.
No.
Good. You just see me looking puzzled because it's loading up and it's not loading. Okay. Come on, internet, work with me. Okay, well, this loads. Multiple regression analysis. 5% of the grade for anybody that tells me what the hell that's about. In practical terms, you find at the 7-Eleven and you grab me and you say, here, I'm going to tell you what multiple regression analysis is for. I feel good. If anybody had just told me, well, Rosa explaining to me is so much clearer than you that we remember, then I would feel like, okay, multiple regression analysis is about, I want to find out, I'm going to in our talk, I want to find out I'm selling this pen. That's my dependent variable. I'm selling this pen. And I want to know how much of this I sold based on other variables, the price that I charge it, the price of a complement or substitute product, the price of the competition, how much I spend on advertising, what's the income of the customer segment that I'm targeting. So you're trying to figure out how one variable is going to change based on the changes of the others. Okay, that's essentially, we can use one of the main uses of oh, this is so frustrating, of multiple regression analysis. Okay. Okay, screw it. I'm explaining to you with the whiteboard because that's how we roll. All right. So all we're trying to do is, and trust me, this is going to be useful. Otherwise, I wouldn't teach it to you. I think we'll all agree on that. All we're trying to do is, okay, we've been talking about the demand for product for a ton of weeks now, price and quantity. But what I have is reality. I have a table that tells me, you know what? When we sold that 351 bucks, we sold 1,279 units. And then we sold cheaper or more expensive, and we sold, this is through time. And those are facts. These combinations, these points are all facts. Obviously, what we sell is not just influenced by the price that we sell it, but these are facts. These tell me when I sold at this price, that's how much I sold. And when I sold at this price, that's how much I sold. And these are facts that we have. And through multiple regression analysis, we say, okay, what is the line, my demand? I'm trying to figure out what is the line that reduces the errors, the square of the errors, if we're going to get technical. That's the error, right? That's the error because that's reality. And that's what I say is the best approximation that is going to give me a line. So what's that line that is going to reduce? It's going to make the minimum of the square of those errors. And that's what we use multiple regression analysis. If it was just simple regression analysis, we would try to figure out what's happening with quantity just based on price. But we have other inputs, right? We have the price of a complement, the price of substitutes, the price of the competition. We have how much we spend on advertising, marketing. What else do you think determines how much we sell of a product or service? We have the income of our customer segments. We have, if we were selling real estate, that would be location. If we were renting rooms, that would be the distance to campus. If we were, I don't know, literally hundreds, right? Literally hundreds. And I'll tell you a story, true story. I used to work at Bristol Myers Squibb Pharmaceuticals, and I was friends with the director of business intelligence. And I once asked him, with beers, that's how sad we both were. I said, how many variables do we consider when we're trying to forecast how many units of a drug we're going to sell? Give me a number. How many variables you think a big pharmaceutical company considers when it's trying to figure out how many units of a drug they're going to sell?
1,500.
Give me a number. 1,500. Jesus. Let's divide it by 3. 500.
50. How about that?
Try to think 500 variables. Location of people, age, previous conditions, marital status, income, blah, 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 500. And then through multiple regression, all you do is, okay, I have 500 variables, and I want to know if I use the 500 variables to try to determine the unit sold, do I get a good model? Yes or no? We determine that by a series of statistics. Okay, yes, that's good enough. But what if I don't use the 500? I use 499 and I take the one at the end. Okay, the model is this good. I'm going to put it back, the one before the last one. How good is it? And so on. And you do all those calculations till you say, you know what? To determine the unit sold of my product, I need to use these 127 variables, because those are the ones that give me the best model. And how do we define the best model? That's when you get into all those parameters you saw in stats. I'm sure you remember the R squared, the adjusted R squared, the T stat, the F stat, the P stat, all that stuff. All that's saying is, okay, that model's good. You can use it. Do you understand multiple regression analysis now? Okay, good. So all those numbers are just telling you this model is good. How good? This model explains 65% of the changes of the variable you're looking at. So how much you sell is explained on 65% because of these variables you chose. So you have some that is not explained by that, but it's 65% good. And then you decide, is it good enough or not? To do what? To make predictions, to make forecasts. Because you can use multiple regression analysis to say, okay, because I have all of these, hold on, we have all of, where are we? Because I have all of these points that gave me this model that I know is X% good, and I'm oversimplifying things, obviously. Well, I can forecast, what if I was here? Because that's the quantity I want to sell. Would I sell that quantity at that price? That helps me now because I have a model that is built upon that. That's multiple regression analysis. That's all there is to it and nothing else. Any questions about, and then we could talk statistics for 2 hours and I could show you numbers and blah, but you've already been through that and it was already boring enough once. I don't want to make it make you go through it again. And this is not a statistic class, but do you understand the concept? Good. Now I'm going to show you a real life example. Okay. This is all the information. It was obviously confidential at the time, and it's just don't go changing to try to please me because you've never let me down. Or no, hold on, that's a song. Don't go publishing this and whatnot, but let me show you. I think I have it open here somewhere. This is, here it is. Okay, so let's see what we're looking at here. And before we look at this, I need to tell you about the business that I was in, okay? So, very sexy industry. There's one pipe going this way, there's another pipe going this way. You need an elbow to put them together, okay? $250 million sales of those elbows. So this is tied to construction. The more houses that are being built, the more of those elbows that are put on the ground. And we could source them domestically or internationally. Those are competing products. Those are substitute products. You're gonna put this elbow and this elbow together, this pipe and this pipe together with an elbow that is either made in China or India or in the US. You're not gonna put both, okay? So those were competing. And I was trying to determine the sales of our domestic product. What did influence the sales of our domestic elbows? Okay, so far so good. Are you still with me? Thumbs up. Okay, so let me show you the data. So what do I have here? Column A, that's just time. That's from January 2011. I took 2 years of data, okay? And this is, I took data out and whatnot, because the whole exercise is not here, okay? And then I said, okay, domestic fittings tonnage, wild tonnage, because I had elbows that weighed few ounces, very tiny, and I had some that were 64 inches tall. So I had to bring it down somehow to a common element. So I said, okay, what's the weight? How many tons we sold each month of the domestic one? Was the price that we've sold them? The price in terms of average price per pound. So that way I take the whole product range, because you could do this by SKU and then you would drive yourself nuts. The whole, everything we sold of the domestic product, all of those tons, what was the average price per pound? And what was the average price per pound of the same exact stuff that we made overseas? As you can tell already, the domestic one more expensive than the import one, because it was more expensive to make, right? So I'm trying to figure out how much we're gonna sell of the domestic fitting, and the VAT, that's my Q. And I'm looking at the price of that same good, at the price of a substitute good, and then I'm looking at something else. We're talking about construction, right? So what's the amount in dollars of projects available in the database that we use? Okay, it's gonna be in housing, in projects that involve putting pipes on the ground. In January 2011, 1.8 billion, February 1.2, and whatnot. How much is my sales force quoting? In January, quotes were $12 million. In March, 16. In July, only 6, and whatnot. And then, how many houses are being built, are being started, according to the US Census Bureau? So I was taking a number of different variables from the, oops, I don't want to move that, from the projects available to the dollars quoted, the number of houses, the pricing of this product, and the pricing of a substitute product to try to figure out what's going on with my domestic fittings. And I took here an average, and here a minimum and a maximum of pricing. Why? Because when you do forecasting, it has to be within the values that you have to build the model in the first place. So I'll be able to forecast. My idea is how many tons of domestic fittings I'm going to sell if I price it between 254 and 352 per pound. That's what I'm trying to do. And the first thing that I did was, so far so good. So far everybody understands the business and what I was trying to do. Yes, give me a thumbs up if you do. Jose, don't collapse. Give me a thumbs up, even though you're faking it. Okay, good. So Fake it till you make it, Jose. Just so if we go back here, and this live with a whiteboard is so much better, trust me. I'm doing my very best here. So here, what did I do? I plotted all of those. I did exactly this. I plotted all of those points, real points, facts, to see what my demand looks like. What can you tell about that demand? First of all, first thing that strikes you, is it a fairly elastic or a fairly inelastic demand?
Elastic.
Fairly elastic. This is as elastic as it gets, which already tells me that this is an industry where price is very important, right? That's the first thing that is telling me. And then what else did I do? Then I ran the multiple regression analysis. This is Excel selecting the right things, click, 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 and you get your output. I'm sure this is bringing shivers down your spine. But this, as you can see, this is the output that you get, first of all. These are those stats that I was telling you that are going to tell me how good is this model. What this is telling me is that the multiple arrows, 75%, R-squared 56, and this is adjusted by the number of observations, 44%. This is just telling me that around 50% of how much I sold of domestic fittings is explained by the data that I've provided. So these things, projects available, dollars quoted, blah, 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 they're just 50% of the story. That's already giving me information, right? And then all these t-stat, p-value, and whatnot, the f-stat, the significance is just telling me if this value is complementing that idea, whether this value, this model is good or bad. That's all that's doing. And I also get the coefficients. And with this, I can build my demand. How? Q, the tonnage of domestic fittings, now here, is 316.86 plus this number times projects available, plus this number times dollars quoted, plus this number times housing units, minus this number times the price of domestic, plus this number times the average price of import. And here you just have all the stuff you have to do to know if the model is good or bad. I'm not going to get there, but you need to, there has to be linearity, there has to be independent error terms, normally distributed error terms, blah, blah, blah. That's just to tell me this model is good or bad. Okay? And now the interesting stuff. What did I learn? Okay. Well, let's start from a couple of things. The law of demand holds. That's because of the coefficient that we have, that price and quantity will move in opposite directions. The price of domestic fittings, coefficient is negative 151, which means the price of domestic fittings and the quantity of domestic fittings are going to move in opposite directions. Good. Law of demand holds. That's a good sign. I can forecast for values between 254 and 352. We saw that before. This is telling me the percentage that the model explains. But most importantly, because I have the equation for the demand, now I can fix each of these things. Projects available, if I don't change it, quoted, I don't change it, housing starts, I don't change it, this price, I don't change it, but I only change the price of the fittings, is going to tell me how much I can expect to sell. And then I can change it. And now what I'm going to change are the projects available. I'm going to change the dollars quoted. And I learned through this that for a given amount of quotes and housing starts, if there's 10 more million in projects available, we'll sell almost 3 more tons of domestic fittings. Okay, that's interesting. for a given amount of projects and housing, if I increase my quotes 100 grand, will lead to an increase in 1.31 tons of domestic fittings. And for a given amount of projects available on quotes, $1,000 increase, 1,000 more houses will lead to 10.5 more tons of domestic fittings. Okay. So I'm just trying to show you with this that if you combine statistics with this class, for example, you can start to learn something about your business. You can start making predictions. You can start having intelligent conversations based on the demand of your product. So that's just one very tiny example of how to put together statistics, in this case, and the subject of this class. Oh my God, that was the most boring part of any class I've ever taught in my life. I hate the fact that I cannot see your faces while I'm sharing my screen. Totally hate it, because I cannot feed on that. And I don't know who's just going, as soon as I start sharing my screen, who's just going, oh God, thank God, I couldn't take any more of that. Or they just stand up and leave, and they come back just in time. Anyway, guys, I'm dropping the mic.
Oh,
I think we're done.
Jose, Nacho, I do have one question for you. It's James.
Please.
Just on that, I'm trying to now apply it back to what we learned from Rosa. So when we did that, and she showed the percentage of, you said 56% was attributed there, or 44. That seemed low. Like, she sort of, in our example, she would have, I think, would have said, you probably go back and look more at the model.
Absolutely.
Okay, just curious about. Okay.
Absolutely. So to give you with the same thing we were talking about, Bristol Myers Squibb and the 500 variables. What this guy told me surprised me a little bit, because I was expecting, well, with all of those variables, you're gonna give me an adjusted R-square of 90%, and the answer was no. He said, when we work above 65%, we think we're golden, we think we're good. Because in all of that, those variables, you may include information about the competition, but that's always gonna be limited information that you're gonna have in the model. And that's the toughest part of all. So this is not a full answer to everything, because it will be so easy, right? Okay, guys, I have the model. We just need to start pulling levers, and I tell you exactly how much we're gonna sell. That's not reality. But you're right, 56 is low, but you're not gonna get to 80s, 90s. That would be absolutely fine.
Okay, and then in Nacho, in that example, you only could stay within the range of the $2.54 and the other, but then you had that foreign, the import, and that's the information you wouldn't have been able to get to know
No,
if you were able to go so low.
Yeah, so I can stay between the 150 and 350 of the domestic. For the import, I could stay between the minimum and the maximum of the import that I had, that were different roles. But then you can see how you can start playing, because there's a substitute. Okay, let's see what we do with the import and see. Now, I have to tell you, I was very proud of what I did. That was incomplete. I showed it to the president of sales, who did not understand a word of what I was talking about, nor was he interested. Because this was I've been on this industry for 40 years. I know everyone, and next year we're gonna sell 10% more. Let's go for dinner. And what you're showing me, this is MBA stuff. So you gotta be careful. Don't get too high on these statistics when you're gonna show it to management, unless management has that background or is inclined to that or is interested in. So you gotta make sure that you do that and you present it in a different way. The way that I did, I tell you how I got my CEO, not the president of sales. He never wanted to look into this, but I got my CEO interested when I told him about forecasting in terms of inventory. Okay, this was a heavily an industry that you had to keep a ton of inventory. And our forecast for sales was, I looked at the actuals, and in the past 5 years, the average that we had got it wrong was 8.5%. We're gonna sell 100 million next year, and we fell short or high by 8.5%. That had huge consequences on inventory because we had to carry inventory according to our forecast for sale. So I took the numbers and I went to the CEO and I said, listen, this is what's been forecasted traditionally. These are the actuals. Through statistical analysis of where we're coming from and what the trend is, if I had done the forecast for last year with actuals, if I had taken for last year the data from the 5 years prior, we could have finished within 1.5% of the actual sales. So the president of sales is going 10%, I would have told you 1.3% higher. The president of sales doesn't want to hear that. But I went through the exercise to show, look, and I've done that, really going into each product line. For this one, it makes sense that we just take 3 years, for this one 5, because there was a total outlier on year 4. So really, I spent like 3 weeks that I did nothing else than this. Then the CEO started questioning the president of sales. You're telling me 10%, but you told me 10% last year. And it was only the growth was whatever. So that got at least in the conversation, even through back channels, the statistical value. But if you just go to a sales conference and you show what I show you, you're gonna get booed out of the room. What the hell do you know about selling? You're there in the office, you just got an MBA, you just wanna show it off. Don't do that. You need to find who you're communicating that with, which I'm sure is something that you guys already know, but you don't wanna learn it the hard way.
Or get someone else to present it, Nacho. Make sure that you don't.
Somebody, but so I learned something in China. I used to go to China all the time, and I learned something very important. The meeting that you're gonna have has 0 importance. The important is the meeting before the meeting and the meeting after the meeting. Okay? Before you go to show any information that is disruptive in any way, if you're gonna show it in the board meeting and there's 10 people, you should have shown it individually to at least 8 of them. Get their buy-in. They already seen it, they understood it. So when you're presenting it, you already get a ton of this in the room, as opposed to a ton of, what are we talking about here? And then the meeting after the meeting, how did it go? Give me feedback, what do you think, etc., etc. So yeah, James, I totally agree with you. Get buy-in early, that's invaluable. Otherwise, you're just jumping into the pool and you don't know if the pool is, if the water is cold, warm, boiling, and you're gonna get hurt. Absolutely. All right, guys. So we have half an hour left, which is not gonna be enough to cover game theory. If anybody has an interest in it, the book has a ton of information in game theory. Otherwise, I'm happy to send you some information to do a brush up that would take us probably an hour some of the time, or maybe after the final exam, we have time, we'll do that. Otherwise, I'm dropping the proverbial mic and we're done. You guys have survived Nachonomics, so now we just need to talk a bit about the final exam, but as far as content is concerned, you guys are done, and I'm gonna release you early today, which I believe is a gift, but well deserved, because you've been through 2 full days of this. So let's talk about the final exam. First of all, before we talk about that, I want to thank you, and I'll repeat this next time. I want to thank you, because what you're doing is tough, and what you're doing requires courage and a ton of concentration and a ton of not doing something else. And when this is done live and the jokes land every time, it's great. But when you're sitting in your living room or your child's room or whatever you're sitting doing this, that's very tough for you. And I only have to do it every now and again, and I go and I deliver the material and then I carry on. But for you, this is constant. So that's something you have to be very proud of. Second of all, you're going to do very well in the final, because I'm the one grading. So let's talk about the final. Same as the midterm. I have no idea how many questions I'm going to ask you. The type of questions, there may be some multiple choice, like I believe there might have been something in the midterm or not, but mostly it's going to be articles or tell me how you would do this. Now we are moving more into the prescriptive mode in terms of what would you do, okay? The final is comprehensive, but I'm not going to ask a full question about elasticity, for example. You've already covered that. But I may ask you one point or something about, so how about the elasticity of demand of this or that? I'm going to ask you about pricing strategies, that's for sure. I'm going to ask you again about the 7 tools. So do yourselves a favor, write the whole freaking 7 tools and all the appendices and all the good stuff that you have there. I'm thinking out loud. I'm going to ask, we saw economies of scale, so that's an important part. Firm level diagram, not so much about drawing, so you don't waste time drawing and you don't get nervous about, oh my God, can I draw this or not? But about me giving you a drawing and you telling me what's going on. That's more likely. Market structures, we covered that too, right? About how to identify the different market structures. Labor, because it wasn't on the midterm, so I have to ask you something about labor. Once again, labor was very, very labor intensive. Sorry, there was no pun intended there. Labor was very graph intensive, but I'm not going to ask you to do a ton of graphs in that sense. If I ask you about labor, I'll give you something for you to tell me what's going on and what would you do. And I'm trying to think what other subjects we'll cover. So that was labor, then we would have the short run costs, the long run cost and economies of scale, firm level diagram, market structures. In market structures, oligopoly, monopoly, monopolistic competition, so identifying that. And now we've got to pricing strategies, and I think those are the main ones. If we had covered game theory, you get some, but we didn't. So I think that's mainly it, okay? When is our next class? When is the final?
May 8th.
May 8th. We are I have my phone on. What day is today?
It's 2 weeks from now.
So it's 2 weeks from now. Okay. Do you have another exam that day or that weekend?
It's all you. It's all you.
Oh, it's all me. Okay. Do you have another exam next week? You need to start having exams sometime, right? We're getting to the end of the semester.
Yes, yeah, we've been due by the May 2nd.
What do you have?
Accounting.
Accounting take home by May 2nd.
Okay. So we'll do the same thing. I propose we do exactly the same thing that I think it was very beneficial. You'll have some time to do the exam. I'll be here. I'll be just waiting. If anybody has a question, I'll put I'll put my number so we can do WhatsApp, or you can call me, or you send me a pigeon. We'll find a way. We found a way on the midterm. We'll find a way now on the final. But I'll be here to answer questions, okay? And then once we're done with the time, you'll have a break, or if you finish earlier, you'll have to send me the exam via email. You can take pictures of what you're doing, or you can type it and send it. You know, I'm very easy on that sense, doesn't matter. And then we'll spend the second half of the class, or whatever that is, doing the actual assignment. So that way it's fresh, it's there. And then when I grade it, we'll do the same thing. You receive an individual email with the graded exam. I'll post it what 100 looks like. I'll send you, this is what 100. And some people said that this pricing was block pricing, but it wasn't because of this. And some people said this was perfect competition, but it's not. So it's a full, complete learning experience. I hated when I sent in my final exam and all I got back was A. And I didn't know what I did right, wrong, or indifferent. I hated most when what came back wasn't an A. But even then, you need to learn. And it's my duty to tell you did well here and not so well here. And then I'll post it once you get the individual email. I'll wait for a couple of days to get your emails contesting the grade that I'll politely ignore, and then I'll post the grades, and then we'll be good to go. Okay.
Nacho, to
So,
confirm, did you say you're not expecting many drawn diagrams, more explanation?
Did I say that? I might have said that you're gonna have to draw something, but I'm not gonna go full graphs on you, because then you spend time and you're so worried about the graphs that you're not worried thinking about what they mean. So make sure you look at them, make sure you practice a couple, but it's not gonna be 300 graphs. It's not gonna be about that. There may be some tables. We've seen exercises with tables where you have to actually calculate the numbers, and you have Excel sheets as samples of what we've done with that, right? Some examples. So my son told me the other day, we were, I don't know, we were talking in English, and he goes, "Dad, you just said the S word." And I go, "What S word?" And he goes, "Stupid." And I go, "Oh, that S word, okay." And then another time I said the other one, and he said, "That S word, I didn't know it, but are you sure it's not cheat?" And I go, "I wouldn't know. You can say it and I cannot. You tell me." Anyway, so that's, I think that's it. How are we feeling?
Just one question on, so from the exam, so the break between the first, sorry, it's Jay. Yeah, the break between what was on the midterm.
Yes.
I think you named everything from the midterm on, right? Just to make sure, is there anything that we might have been doing on the, okay. So there shouldn't be any of the same questions,
no,
or will there be any overlap?
From before the midterm, I'll ask you something about elasticity, but it will not be a full question. I will not ask you about consumer preferences and rational choice, and no, but the 7 tools are going to appear somewhere, somehow. And then what we saw before in terms of supply and demand, maybe like small thing, and the full profitability analysis, and all that just trickles down into the firm level diagram anyway. And I'm being asked by the audience, will cost cutting strategies be on there? I know it was just for me, but I think everybody deserves to know. I don't know, there could well be. So they are fair game, but I don't have the exam made yet. I may ask you, okay, if it's a situation where cost cuts are needed, I may ask you, what would you do? And then you can just go down the list and pick what you prefer. But it's going to be nothing that we haven't done before, nothing to try to get you. On the contrary, it's just to try for everybody to be as successful as possible. If everybody gets an A, because if everybody deserves an A, that's fine, that's great with me, and great news for everybody.
Nacho, how much of the class are you allocating for the exam? You said half the class?
So let's talk about that. So typically we start at what time? 7:15 my time, which is God knows what time for you. 1:15 your time, right? Typically you start at 1:15 in the afternoon, yes. And we go till 5 p.m. for you.
Correct.
Let's say
the final. Our class though is in the morning next for the final.
On Saturday.
It's a morning class.
Yeah, it's always
8:30 in the morning.
It's early in the morning.
Yeah, it's 8:30 for us.
Oh, then it cannot be at 7 p.m. for me, because we are 6 hours. So, maybe
2:30.
Yeah. Okay. In any case, if we have
like 3 hours.
Oh no, for the exam. No way.
Yeah.
No way. No way, Jose. And this way is kind of appropriate. No. 3 hours for the exam. No. You know why? Because you'll write for 3 hours. Stuff that is applicable or not, that makes sense or doesn't, but you say, I have 3 hours, so I'm going to pack everything and anything I ever heard about economics here, just to make sure. I'll throw everything against the wall to see what sticks. No. How long do you have for the midterm? 2 hours?
Again.
And then I flinched.
Normally have 3 hours. Rosa gives us 3, 2 hours. 2 hours seems to be the
most professors. Colin, I'm not. I think if one thing should be clear by now, I'm not most professors. Okay. Let's do what makes sense. Let's do what makes sense. If you'll get enough time. How about that?
2 hours is fine.
Enough time. 2 hours, 2.5, I don't know. And then I'm always weak, because then as we're getting towards the end, I see you desperate and I say, okay, you got half an hour.
90
more.
minutes.
It's not going to be an issue for anybody because they didn't have time. Let's just put it that way. Okay, more questions. You're asking many more questions that you asked throughout the rest of the class, by the way. I can tell, but this really, really interests you. No questions? You guys good? Okay. Neil, do you need me to send you any information about the pricing for your interview, or you're good with your notes?
All good.
Okay, perfect. If anybody has any interview that is coming up or whatever, and needs to load up on energy by someone telling you how great you are, or have any questions about how to apply this in the interview, give me a shout, we'll talk. I was talking to Neil before this class, that's what we were late, so I'm here for you people. All righty, so I'm gonna let you go.
Thank you, Nacho.
Hey, Nacho, I've got one question for you.
Thank you, Nacho.
Sure.
It's not related to the class, though.
Thank you, Nacho.
Okay, who's talking?
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
So I need to see if you can send over the presentation you gave for career development.
Oh, I didn't send it.
No, I haven't received it. Some folks were asking for it, so if you wouldn't mind.
Absolutely, I'll send it right now. I'm gonna get it'll be a link.
Okay.
Because it's no slides. It was on Prezi. I'll send you the link right now. I'm sorry, I thought I had done that.
Okay, so I'll download it and then send it out. Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Take care.